Hi, this is Randy Stone. I cover the night beat for the Chicago Star. My stories start in many different ways. This one began with a question and ended when the secret locked in a man's mind brought sudden death.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
Tonight I had another story to write. Find it somewhere in the 3,000 square miles of Chicago, among the people who are Chicago. People. Ever get the feeling you'd like to forget that word? Close a mental door, snap a psychic lock, and boom, you're alone? Oh, can't do it, pal, because maybe you're people, too. So tonight I watched them again. I wandered south on Western Avenue, crossed Addison, and there was Riverview Park. I walked around there, watching the people hurry themselves from one thing to another, each one trying to catch up with a couple of hours of fun. And then I saw a sign that read, Mentalo, the marvel of the age, knows everything. Admission 25 cents. Okay, I'm a sucker for any man who knows everything and freely admits it. He might even know what makes the world tick, like a time bomb. That'd be worth 2 bits of anybody's money. I went in. Mentalo was in the middle of his act.
Battle of Waterloo proper was begun at 11:30 a.m. on June the 17th, 1815. The battle went through 5 distinct phases until the French were routed.
That right, lady?
Well, yes, it is.
It sure is. Now, who's next? Who has the next question? You, sir. You just came in. You seem a little skeptical.
Are you talking to me?
I am, sir. Maybe you'd like to ask Mentalo a question.
Oh, all right. What's the temperature of the sun?
Mentalo, the gentleman thinks he's stumped you.
The temperature of the visible surface of the sun is about 6,000 degrees centigrade. The interior temperature is estimated at approximately 20 million degrees centigrade.
Is that correct, sir?
I'll take his word for it.
And you can, sir. Now, who's next?
I got a question.
Very good. Ask it.
Mentalo.
Yes.
What happened? What happened to you on the 15th of last month?
What happened? The 15th?
Yeah, the 15th.
Mentalo.
15th. I'm making it out of here. Get him away.
That's all for this show. That's all. That's all. Cheer up, folks. Everything's all right now. They're up. Okay. Mentalo, come on. Let's get out of here.
It happened again, Phil. Again?
You want a doctor?
Huh? Now, look, mister, I said everybody clear out.
Yes, I know, but this man collapsed. He looks pretty beat.
I said get out.
Okay.
And make it fast.
Okay.
Real fast.
So I made it real fast, like the man said. But as I walked through the carnival grounds, that bird brain of mine that just won't let me grow old gracefully started working overtime. Why did Mentalo do a nosedive when that question was asked? What happened to him on the 15th of last month? Listen tomorrow at the very same time, and Just Plain Stone will tell you all about it. But then, just as I'd reached the edge of the carnival grounds, a voice pushed its way through my thoughts.
Test your eye and your aim, folks. Knock down the ducks.
It was the man who'd asked the questions. I walked over to the shooting gallery. He picked up one of the rifles.
I say, here you are, mister. Test your eye and your aim.
Sure. Thank you.
That was close. Pretty close.
I'll try to do better.
Just a little more practice, that's all. A little practice.
Yeah, like everything else.
Well, that's better.
By the way, what happened to you on the 15th of last month?
Take your shots and beat it.
Why did you ask that question?
Give me the rifle, mister.
I got 5 more shots coming.
Not tonight. Give me it.
I pays my quarter. I takes my shot.
I said hand me the rifle.
Okay, here.
You want to see something? Watch.
Well, with bullets or words, the man's good.
You ain't a Connie man.
No?
No. But you're awful curious.
That's an old family failing and an occupational hazard.
Uh-huh.
Why did you ask Mentelow that question? Did you know how it would affect him?
You know, mister, a couple of months back, a guy picks up one of these rifles. He don't know nothing about guns, see? He gets careless and the gun goes off. At him. He's dead. Accident.
Pal, you have a strange, oblique way of making me feel uncomfortable. I see what you mean.
Uh-huh. Now you're hitting the bullseye. So long, mister.
Okay, twice I got curious, twice I drew blanks. I thought about it some more and then decided to pass it up in favor of the cotton candy. And then I saw Mentelow. He was walking down the midway, but like a man in a trance. There was something about him that screamed, I need help. His little figure seemed odd, incongruous against the laughing, hurrying people. I followed him, wondering, and then he stopped in front of the roller coaster. For a moment he watched it, and then, as if suddenly making up his mind, he headed for the ticket booth. That didn't figure, so I bought a ticket, too, and followed him to the loading platform.
Tickets for the next ride, please. Tickets for the next ride.
Here you are.
Oh, thank you. Tickets for the next ride. Tickets for the next ride, please.
I got in the car directly behind Mentelow. That dazed, bewildered expression was still on his face. His hands gripped the side of the car. He half rose in his seat as though he were going to leave, but he sat down again. And then...
All right. Lock the safety bars. It's 200 feet up. Lock your safety bars.
We started up the long incline toward the top of the 200-foot grade. I kept my eyes on Mentelow. He gripped the safety bar in front of him until his knuckles whitened under the pressure. A couple of kids behind me began to rib me.
Geez, hi. I'm getting scared.
Hey, mister, you gotta have a girl with you.
I did, but I left her in the fun house.
Oh, what a square she must be. Hey, if you get scared, mister, hold on to me.
I'll keep that in mind.
Hey, baby, I paid $4 for this. Let him grab his own cookie. hey, watch it. We're going over.
Here we go!
And then it happened. He started down the almost perpendicular drop. Mentelow stood up. Mentelow!
Let me go. Let me go.
Mentelow struggled to his feet, almost dragged me out of my seat. I held him while we hurtled down the long drop and finally hit the bottom. And then Mentelow stopped struggling to get free. He went limp and sank back into his seat.
Why did you stop me? I've got to kill myself.
Well, he almost did, and me with him. My arms ached from the effort of holding him down. But the ride was finally over. I got him off and away. He let me lead him like a child out of the park and to his cheap hotel room on the north side. I told him who I was and then waited until he spoke.
Why didn't you let me do it?
Well, I'm just an old busybody. How about some coffee?
No, nothing. Just leave me alone, please.
Just a minute, I saw your act tonight. I heard the question that sent you off.
It's always someone different who asks it. It's never the same person twice.
Have you ever got hold of the person who asks it?
No. I was afraid to.
What did happen to you on the 15th of last month?
I don't know. Something tells me that I must not remember. I must not.
Your act is legitimate, isn't it?
Legitimate?
Yeah, no fake. No shills to ask questions you're sure to know the answer to.
I have a photographic memory, Mr. Stone. I never forget anything.
Yet you've forgotten one day of your life.
Yes. You don't believe it, do you?
Oh, yes, I do. But why did you try to kill yourself?
Because I know that if I do remember, I wouldn't be able to stand it.
Don't you have any clue at all?
Two things. Two things that mean nothing.
Well, maybe they do. What are they?
Just streamers in the sky and the name Helene.
Streamers in the sky and Helene. Who is Helene?
I don't know anybody by that name. I don't. I tell you, I don't.
All right. Now take it easy, Mentelow.
Oh, get out and leave me alone. Get out.
Yeah. Get out and leave him alone.
Phil.
Well, my friend the Barker. Hello.
What are you doing here?
I brought Mentelow home after he tried to kill himself.
What? Mentelow. You all right?
I'm all right, Phil, but I don't want to remember.
Look, Phil, for what it's worth, he's sick. He's got to see a doctor.
No, Phil, get him out of here.
Oh,
Mister, get out.
But this man is...
Get out and don't come back.
Because if you do anything that hurts Mendelow, I'll kill you.
And now back to Night Beat and Randy Stone.
Like I said before, sometimes you'd like to seal off the rest of the world and forget it. Let 1,000 people die in a flood, we click our tongues and say, how terrible. And that's as far as it goes. But let one kid scratch himself on a nail and 87 people come running with the iodine. The human reality of what happens to a lot of people at once is too big for us. But what happens to one individual is something each of us can get hold of. I don't know, maybe that's what sent me to a friend of mine, a psychiatrist whom I dragged out of bed.
But, Randy, what concern is mental of yours?
Oh, I don't know, Ken. Why'd you become a psychiatrist?
Why? I see what you mean.
Okay, you see what I mean. Now, what gives with Mendelow?
Self-protection. His mind is protecting him. Whatever happened on the 15th of last month is suppressed. The memory is horrible enough to force a complete blackout.
Yeah, but he remembers two things, Ken. Streamers in the sky and the name Helena. What do the streamers mean?
Almost anything. This guy's symbol for something else.
Yeah, he tried to kill himself tonight. Will he try it again?
It's likely.
Well, what'll set him off again?
Hard telling. Question, object, anything. Was Mendelow upset when you left him?
Upset? He was practically hysterical.
I'd better go with you.
Oh, you're worried too, huh?
I'd feel better if I saw him. Let's go.
Here's the room. It's right here, 612.
Randy, try the door.
Open.
You know where the light is?
I think I saw a switch by the door.
Randy.
Mendelow.
Don't try to unfasten that buckle. Cut the belt.
With him, hurry.
All right. Cut that belt. Hurry up, Randy.
Is he alive?
I think so. All right.
Easy, Ken. There.
Pulse is still strong. He couldn't have been hanging more than a few seconds before we came in.
Poor little devil, Ken.
Look, Randy.
What?
There's something clutched in his hand.
But, yes, that's a key. That's an old-fashioned house key. Now, why?
I don't know.
Well, what's your guess?
It's hard telling, Randy, but I do know this. He's no longer responsible for his actions.
But then the next time he tries anything like this, maybe nobody will be around to stop it. Ken, is there anything that we can do? Is there anything you can do?
It's up to him, Randy, but let's get him to my office. We'll see what we can do there.
Feeling better, Mendelow?
Yes, thank you.
You know where you are?
No, where's Phil?
Oh, you're Barker? I don't know. Now listen to me, Mendelow. You tried to hang yourself. Do you remember that?
Yes. After Phil left, I felt so hopeless.
You had this in your hand, this key. Look at it.
I found it in my pocket, and then I knew I had to kill myself.
Is it your key? Do you remember what it's for?
No.
You won't remember that, Randy.
Oh.
Who are you?
He's a friend of mine, and he's a doctor, Mendelow.
Well, I don't want to.
Now, look, twice tonight you tried to kill yourself. Once is enough to call in the police.
No.
Oh, don't worry. That's not what we want to do. I want to help you, and the doctor wants to help you. Please believe that.
No one can help me because I can't remember, and I must not remember.
The police will ask questions when they learn you tried to kill yourself.
But it's no business of theirs or yours. Why don't you leave me alone? Why do you care?
Oh, that's the same old question asked the same old way, and this time I've run out of answers. Make up one of your own. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I believe you do want to help.
Yes, we do. Now, look. There'll be no need to call in the police if you'll let us help you. You're sick. Do you know that? You're sick.
Let us help you.
All right.
Good. Now, you trust Mr. Stone, don't you?
Yes, I do.
All right. You're going to sleep. When you feel this hypodermic needle, start counting backward from 100. Just a little sting, Then start counting backward from 100. Now.
Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone.
What, Mendelow?
You stay near?
Oh, yes, I'll stay.
Start counting. 99.
99. 98. 95. 90.
He knows your voice, Randy. He trusts you. You asked the question.
Me, is it all right?
Yes.
Mendelow, can you hear me?
Yes?
It's the 15th of last month.
The 15th of last month. Streamers in the sky.
What streamers? What are they? Where are they?
The Aurora Borealis.
The Northern Lights?
Yes. Aurora. I went to Aurora.
Aurora, Illinois?
Yes. I was there.
Now, you're in Aurora. Where did you go there?
The house. Yes, I've got to open the door. The key.
Here's the key.
Unlock the door. She's going to be here. Helene.
Who is Helene?
I love her. She loves me. There's the room. The room?
All right. Now, you're in the room. What did you do?
I waited. Waited for her. And she came in. And then I... Helene!
Mendelow.
Oh, Helene!
Ken, is he all right?
Yes.
We still don't know what happened.
There's one way to find out, Randy.
What, find the house in Aurora and take him there?
That's it. What we've done here is bring him to recall that far.
You see?
Now it's a question of bringing back the whole thing, bit by bit.
Ken didn't go along. Mendelow didn't want him to. It wasn't a long drive in miles. I watched Mendelow when I could. His face was contorted in an agony of effort as we drove through Aurora slowly, looking for one street, one house. Then...
That house.
But it's all boarded up. Are you sure, Mendelow?
It's that house.
All right. The house set back from the street. The only light came from a street lamp half a block away. Mendelow walked slowly ahead of me, up the walk toward the porch, then up the porch stairs. Open the door.
Locked. It was locked that day, too.
Well, unlock it. You've got the key.
Yes. Okay.
Where's the light switch?
No light.
All right. We'll use the flashlight. Now, go ahead, Mendelow. Go ahead. There's no furniture here, Mendelow. This house is vacant.
This is her house. I know. There were 3 of us here. 3. This is the room.
Go on. Mendelow, think. Well, you've got to think. It's the only way you'll remember what happened. It's the only way you'll find out what's torturing you.
She's here. She came to me in this room.
Helene came to you here?
Because she loved me.
Where is she now?
Her clothes. In this closet.
Mendelow walked to the closet, opened it. A row of dresses hung there. A faint odor of perfume drifted through the room. For a moment, Mendelow stood there, and he started toward a door. Mendelow, where are you going?
I know. The basement.
Wait for me.
Down there.
no one here, Mendelo. No one at all. The basement's empty.
Not empty. She... Under the earth where I put her. Under the earth.
Get it out. Come on, get a hold of yourself. What are you talking about?
I killed her. She came to me because we loved each other. I was holding her in my arms when I killed her. Now she's down here. Under our feet. I killed her.
Who was she?
I killed her.
You're satisfied now? You're satisfied?
Phil.
What are you doing here?
You had to stick your nose in. You had to make him tell, didn't you?
Mendelo, are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah, he's sure. And so am I, because I helped him put her here. He'd never known if you didn't make him remember.
Who was Helene?
You're never going to know.
Helene.
You had to go and make him remember. It was all over. Nobody would have known because we traveled with the yak.
Yes, but somebody did know. Because somebody asked him tonight what happened on the 15th. Somebody always asked that question. Why? And who was Helene?
Helene? Helene was his wife.
What?
He was jealous because she never loved him. She loved me.
Then how could you have killed her, Mendelo? Listen to me. You only think you killed her. Because if she hadn't come here, she wouldn't have been killed. You blamed yourself. That's what it was. And then you forgot. The shock made you forget.
Don't listen to him, Mendelo. Don't listen.
I remember now. I remember. You killed her. Made me believe.
But you're not going to tell anybody else about it. Both of you are going to stay here.
I'm not afraid anymore, Phil. Because I know now I didn't kill her. You did, Phil.
Mendelo went toward Phil. Phil had a gun pointed at him. I jumped back, turned off the flashlight. For a moment, there wasn't a sound. And then...
Mendelo. Where are you? Mendelo.
Wait, Mendelo. Don't move. You hear me? Don't move.
Mendelo.
Well, it's almost dawn now. I can go home to my little trundle bed and sleep the day away. Yo-ho-ho, the reporter's life for me. Oh, sure. But anyhow, I got my story. Two men. One whose feelings of guilt forced him to believe he killed the woman he loved. And another man whose feelings of guilt made him a gibbering coward. But where's the moral? That someone always pays for a crime? Sure, but who is guilty? Maybe we should say, what is guilty? What's in that space above our eyes that makes us act the way we do? That makes us people? To louse up Shakespeare, there are more things in the darkness of the mind than are dreamed of in your philosophy, Mr. Stone. Oh, you can call me Randy, pal. Just call me Randy. Copy, boy.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy, is produced and directed by Warren Lewis and edited by Larry Marcus. Tonight's script was written by Russell Hughes with music by Frank Worth. The part of Mendelo was played by Ben Wright. Listen next week at this same time and every week as Randy Stone searches through the city for the strange stories waiting for him in the darkness.
The National Broadcasting Company, in conjunction with the Fund for Adult Education, presents Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville.
Albany, July the 4th, 1831. The reading of the Declaration of Independence in the Methodist Church was really a fine spectacle. There was, in the reading of these promises of independence so well kept, in this return of an entire people toward the memories of its birth, something deeply felt and truly great.
The 4th of July in Albany, 1831. A study in American independence.
Item 3 in the series Democracy in America, prepared by the Division of General Education of New York University, under the direction of George Probst, American historian. A series designed to bring to life the America of 1831, as recorded by Alexis de Tocqueville, and so to illuminate the image of democracy itself. A study in American independence. The 4th of July in Albany, 1831.
What is it? What's the matter? Are they at the barricades?
Quiet, Beaumont. This is not France. We are in America. It is Independence Day, 1831. And the loyal citizens of Albany seem to be saluting the dawn with a fusillade of artillery.
Not a very pleasant awakening for me. The guns made me dream of the Reign of Terror.
The Reign of Terror was over years before you were born, Beaumont.
I know, but my family has told me many stories of the Revolution.
So has mine. My own father and mother, imprisoned, barely escaped the guillotine. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, an uncle and an aunt, all guillotined. And since then we have had Napoleon, the restoration of the Bourbon, the July Revolution last year, Louis-Philippe back again with his damned umbrella. All that in 40 years. When we were living on the estate at Verneuil, there was an evening which I shall never forget, though I do not think I was very old. Napoleon still ruled Europe, and Waterloo was still only a village near the outskirts of Brussels. There was a family celebration. I don't know what it was, but I do remember that the chateau was full of people, most of them relatives. It was evening. The servants had been sent out, and the whole family had collected around the hearth. My mother was singing the royalist song from the opera Richard Coeur de Lion. It made them think of the misfortunes and the suffering of His Majesty King Louis XVI at his death at the guillotine. As my mother sang, each person in that room was weeping, not over the private misfortunes every single one of them had suffered, not even over the many relatives every single one of them had lost in the civil wars and upon the scaffold. No, they were weeping rather over the fate of this man who had died more than 15 years before. Many of those who were weeping over him had never seen him. But Beaumont, these were the ladies and gentlemen of France, and this man had been the King of France. No wonder the Count, my father, was somewhat taken aback when I proposed a visit to America to study equality. Equality he himself had closely studied already, and its supposed associations with liberty and fraternity.
And yet, equality in America led to no reign of terror.
Evidently not. It is strange how the very same principle can lead to such widely differing results.
Now, they're ringing the church bells, and it cannot be 6 o'clock yet. How these Americans are full of zeal. And how fortunate they are to have a fine day in Albany for their celebrations. Oh, come to the window, Tocqueville, and enjoy the morning. Throw away your nightcap as I have done, and throw away your gloomy memories with it. Today, we are in America. And in America, the only revolution was a glorious one.
So glorious, in fact, that it was not even a revolution. It was a war of independence.
I stand corrected. Look at all the flags. I wonder if it's going to be hot today. I hear there will be processions today and a band. Well, let us get dressed quickly and go downstairs. How I long to hear that band. Come along, Tocqueville, a little more brandy. You'll never be able to stand the strain of an American celebration unless you're first 45 with an American breakfast.
No, thank you. I'm not hungry. I mean thirsty.
Oh, come, Tocqueville. You must bring your mind back from France. This is July the 4th, not July the 14th. Independence Day, not Bastille Day. We are about to witness the national celebration of a happy democracy.
And how much of this happiness and democracy can we teach to France? Now we have a constitutional monarch with an umbrella. Now we have the beginnings of a democracy. Will that make us a happy and contented people, Beaumont?
I don't know. What little I've seen of it among the Americans makes me think it certainly suits them. Whether it suits us, well, that is something else again. It depends what we do with it.
You may be right.
Well, I shall keep an open mind. Pass the cold beef.
Morning, gentlemen. Early breakfast, that's the thing.
Mr. Flagg.
What a pleasant surprise.
Nothing like a good breakfast to start a good day. Mr. Tocqueville, Mr. Beaumont, meet the Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York, Edward P. Livingston.
Delighted to make the acquaintance of the countrymen of Lafayette.
Oh, of course. Delighted, sir, to make your acquaintance.
You must forgive our early intrusion, but Mr. Flagg felt, and I agree, that you must be spoken to at once before you'd made other arrangements.
Spoken to, sir?
Well, we're very anxious that you gentlemen will march with us and with various other dignitaries at the head of the procession. Mr. Flagg felt, and I agree, that it would be most fitting.
And a friendship between the nations, a very fine thing.
I agree.
Sir, we should be most honored, but will not such a thing sadly disturb your table of precedence?
Table of precedence? Oh, not here, not over here. Plague take such a thing. The nearest we get to a table of precedence is that meeting we had last night in your house, Ned.
I agree.
And, you know, we just sat down with half a dozen of the leading citizens and thrashed it all out, where the wagons were to go, where the 4th of July orator was to march. I hope you're ready for some long speeches. And that just about settled it. Wait a minute. I forgot the militia.
You're right. We'd better get along and see that they're going to turn out on time.
Militia, what is that? To maintain order?
Maintain order? What for? It's just for show. The militia's the National Guard. You're aware the Constitution gives every man the right to bear arms. Citizen army, that's the militia, citizen army.
Do you not have an army in France?
Oh, indeed, yes. We have an army and an armed police force, several police forces. But we have no such thing as a citizen army. There have been occasions when the army has ruthlessly suppressed the citizens.
Happily in the past.
In the past, yes. Come, Beaumont. You must excuse us, gentlemen. This Independence Day of yours is awakening in my breast feelings of patriotism and remorse. No doubt I shall feel better when the actual ceremonies begin.
Now then, where's the Lieutenant Governor?
Here I am, Azariah.
Oh, good for you. Now, we shall be in front, the Lieutenant Governor and you gentlemen and I, and the Chancellor and the Controller and all those people. Then we shall have the fire department.
All of them?
All 9 companies.
What if there's a fire?
No American house dare burn on the 4th of July. Fire department has a new banner and a miniature engine, very fine. Then the Sons of St. Andrews. There they are, over there. What time do you have now?
5 and 20 of 10.
What time does the procession start?
10 o'clock sharp, Mr. Beaumont, with any luck. And if they can get all the wagons and floats ready in time.
Look, step over this way, gentlemen, and take a look at the printer float.
We should be very glad to. Come, Beaumont.
Now, here, gentlemen, look. Look at all this.
How splendid. How superb. But what does it all mean?
I know what some of it means, but the master printers can tell you what it all means. Hey, here now. Here's your chance. Distinguished visitors from France come to see America. Tell them what all this means.
Well, this, is the wagon of the Association of Printers and Albany Typographical Society. At the front end, we got a gilt bust of Benjamin Franklin. I guess you should know him all right.
He spent a great deal of time in France. But while recognizing that Franklin was a great man, why do you choose to carry his bust on the printer's wagon?
Because he was a printer himself, that's why. In this country, men can rise to greatness and still be proud of their old trades. Now, in the center of the wagon, you'll observe we have a flagstaff set up and the flags of various nations. The U.S. colors, of course.
And those are France.
And Belgium. And what is that other one?
Well, that will be the flag of Poland, sir. Gallant country, very brave. Keen interest here in Polish independence.
That's the truth. There's a keen interest here in countries that are fond of liberty themselves, or fighting for liberty, or anything of that kind.
No call for you to fret, gentlemen. Your flag's there. France has overthrown her tyrants.
Has she? I do not think that the American Revolution and the French Revolution are truly comparable.
Now, I want you to come with me this way. See, this way.
Oh, but I want to make some notes.
Oh, this will give you something worth noting, Mr. Tocqueville. Now, look, near the head of the procession, we have a carriage with the veterans of the War of Independence. There are very few left now. After all, it's 55 years ago. But there's one old fellow that's very spry, considering he's very well preserved. He's the man you should see before the procession starts. He'll be too tired when it ends and may have drunk a great many toasts into the bargain, if you take my meaning. Old soldiers, you know, military reunions. Let's catch him now.
Mr. Flagg hurried us past the other groups that were forming for the parade. The Mechanics Benefit Society, the Painters Association, the Apprentices Society. And I could not help reflecting, as we walked along, how unlike France this country has become. The American Revolution produced a Washington, not a Napoleon. It had no reign of terror, and General Washington was followed not by counter-revolutions and plots within plots, but by an orderly succession of constitutional presidents. Then we reached the place where an old gentleman was sunning himself beside his carriage, waiting for the procession to start.
And these gentlemen are from France to study whatever we have to offer.
It is an honor, sir, to meet a survivor of the armies of the American Revolution.
No such thing.
I beg your pardon?
No such thing. It wasn't a revolution. That's what the British called it. We called it by its right name, the War of Independence.
I stand corrected. And only this morning I corrected my friend, Monsieur Beaumont, for the same error.
Yeah. Did you see General Washington?
I surely did. I was a drummer boy in the retreat across New Jersey. That was a cold campaign, that was. December. We all thought the game was about up then. Later on, we heard the general thought so, too. I was writing dismal letters to his friend about it. You heard of Tom Paine?
Tom Paine? The infidel?
Well, I don't know whether he was an infidel. I never got to ask him. I know he was all for an independent America, and I know General Washington thought a lot of him. Of course, he was a friend of his. Right in the middle of that New Jersey campaign, when we was all cold and sick and miserable, the general paraded us by regiments. Well, we hoped we were going to get an issue of brandy or rations or powder or something we could have used. But what we got was something written by this Tom Paine read out to us.
A very famous passage. These are the times that try men's souls.
We knew that without some scribbler telling us so.
No doubt he was trying to put heart into you. You have heard of our great General Napoleon. He was always addressing his troops to put heart into them.
And he got beat in the end, though, didn't he?
He did. But he knew that the armies did not run on speeches. An army, he once said, marches on its stomach.
Well, the general knew that, too. He was the greatest man the world has ever produced.
And he served only 2 terms as president. And then he went home to Mount Vernon and lived as a private gentleman.
Now, there they go with some more of those confounded firecrackers. I hate the things. I'd rather be back in a retreat across New Jersey than to listen to those infernal contraptions. Every 4th of July, this place is like a town under siege. One damn fool after another, firing off muskets from the front door and pistols from the window. Rockets come whizzing into your bedroom and blazing grasshoppers jump at you on the sidewalk. I'm scared to death. The horses are going to bolt, and all us veterans will be killed at one go. When we fit the war, we never reckoned that for the rest of our lives, every living soul from the senator to the chimney sweeper to let off his patriotism in gunpowder.
Yes, well, it's 5 minutes of 10. Time to be moving along, gentlemen. You'll be walking near the head of the procession with the lieutenant governor and myself. Just one thing before we go. Look at that.
An old flag, torn and scarred.
Yeah. Those holes were made by bullets.
Some of them certainly were. That's a flag that's come down from the War of Independence. You have no idea, gentlemen, what it's like to overthrow a tyranny.
I could have told him that in France we had had too much experience of overthrowing tyrannies. But why should I worry him with the dark thoughts that preyed upon my mind? In America, these old soldiers who fought with Washington are themselves looked on as precious relics, and whom all the citizens delight to honor. And at 10 o'clock sharp, a band struck up, and the procession moved away, with Beaumont and myself marching proudly near the head.
So here we are, Tocqueville, marching in the 4th of July parade in Albany.
We swing around here onto North Pearl Street. Now look behind you in a moment. Gentleman marching behind.
Oh, yes. The preoccupied-looking gentleman.
Yeah, that's the one. Mr. John B. Van Schaik, leading lawyer in town. He's the Independence Day orator. I believe he has some telling remarks prepared on the independence of the Poles and also on this little revolution of yours last July.
Last July? Oh, yes. The July Revolution. The July Revolution. Do you remember, Beaumont, our talk after last July? We are resolved, then, Beaumont.
Absolutely resolved.
I've already explained to my father that my position as a magistrate of France has been rendered intolerable by the July Revolution.
To say nothing of their testing our loyalty by making us take the oath of allegiance twice. That was nothing but a deliberate insult.
It certainly didn't make us any more loyal. My friends are sufficiently outraged at my having taken the oath once.
Brother's hand is set against brother.
Our position in France has become intolerable. This trip to America will form a sort of voluntary exile.
To study the American prisons. Well, that is a legitimate occupation for a pair of young magistrates.
I think we have more to learn from America than information about prisons.
What?
The principle of equality. It may be that in America we can get a glimpse of the destiny of France.
The exercises will begin with a prayer from one of the Protestant ministers.
I noticed that they begin everything with a prayer.
Probably things don't go any the worse for it.
Let us pray. Almighty God, the fountainhead and origin of human liberties here on earth, the foundation and the buttress of all just governments, we humbly thank Thee for having preserved our nation for yet another year. We pray further that the liberties and freedoms so dearly won by our forefathers will be maintained under Thy guidance and extended to Thy glory, not only within our own nation, but to the other nations of the earth, and especially we pray at this time for the people of Poland. In the name of Jesus Christ our Lord, amen.
Amen. Judge Waterton will commence the exercises by reading the Declaration of Independence.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of natures God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That
of all the events which occurred, I was most impressed, first, with the honor and respect accorded to the veterans of the war, and secondly, with the reading of the Declaration of Independence itself, which was done with warmth and dignity. It was really a fine spectacle. A profound silence reigned in the meeting. When, in its eloquent plea, Congress reviewed the injustices and the tyranny of England, we heard a murmur of indignation and anger circulate about us in the auditorium. When it appealed to the justice of its cause and expressed a generous resolution to succumb or free America, it seemed that an electric current made the hearts vibrate. This was not, I assure you, a theatrical performance. There was, in the reading of these promises of independence, so well kept, in this return of an entire people toward the memories of its birth, in this union of the present generation to that which is no longer, sharing for the moment all its generous passions, there was, in all that, something deeply felt and truly great.
And a right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Amen. Fellow citizens of Albany, the 4th of July oration will now be delivered by our silver-tongued 4th of July orator, Mr. John B. Van Shake of this city.
Hello, Americans! Consider, first of all, ancient Egypt. Oh, my fellow Americans, how readily does ancient Egypt spring to the tongues, the hearts, and the eyes of every one of us here today. In this very
They should have stopped with the reading of that noble declaration, but no. No sooner was it concluded than a lawyer stepped up to make us a long rhetorical harangue in which he pompously passed the entire universe in review to get to the United States, which in all respects he made the center of the world. This had all the appearance of a farce. Though, of course, we see such things in France at the funerals of our great men. I came out cursing the orator whose flow of words and stupid national pride had succeeded in destroying a part of the profound impression that the rest of the spectacle had made on me. But before we left, the proceedings ended with an ode called The Progress of Liberty, set to the tune of our Marseillaise, and accompanied by an orchestra which consisted, I assure you on my word of honor, of nothing whatever but one single flute.
Then onward be thy way, unstayed thy progress be, empires and thrones shall on thy sway triumphant liberty.
Well, Tocqueville, what did you make of our day?
For me, a day of contrasts. I saw and heard America, but I thought of France. It was a strange irony that these two lines of thought should have intersected at last in that peculiar ode to American liberty that they sang to the tune of the Marseillaise.
And think of all those toasts, the symbolic 13 toasts, to Washington, to Lafayette.
And the 13th, the fair sex, always entitled to our protection.
So far, so good. But surely the voluntary toasts were the most peculiar, when the most directly opposed political sentiments were solemnly proposed in perfect and rapid succession.
That was simply because, on Independence Day, all shades of political opinion unite in praising the Union. Well, there is more brilliance in our ceremonies, but in those of the United States, there is more truth. I am still trying to compose my thoughts after the stimulation I have received from the sacred day of the nation of equality. What are we to make of it all? The nations of our time cannot prevent the conditions of men from becoming equal, but it depends upon themselves whether the principle of equality is to lead them to servitude or freedom, to knowledge or barbarism, to prosperity or wretchedness.
You have just heard The 4th of July in Albany, 1831, a study in American independence, item 3 in a series based on Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America. This series, presented by the National Broadcasting Company, was prepared by the Division of General Education of New York University under the direction of George Probst, American historian. Produced in the studios of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation by Andrew Allen. Script by Lister Sinclair, music by Lucio Agostini. This series, Democracy in America, is made possible by a grant from the Fund for Adult Education as part of a general course of study of the nature of American society. For information about the use of these de Tocqueville dramatizations for study or discussion, and how to secure these new materials about American democracy at a reasonable charge, write to the American Foundation for Continuing Education, Post Office Box 749, Chicago 90, Illinois. Now this is Ben Grauer inviting you to join us next week for Item 4, The Arc of Civilization, on Democracy in America.
Lux presents Hollywood. The Lux Radio Theater brings you Ginger Rogers and Ray Milland in The Major and the Minor. Ladies and gentlemen, your producer, Mr. Cecil B. DeMille.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. The star billing on tonight's program really ought to read Ginger Rogers and Ray Milland with Ginger Rogers and Ginger Rogers. For the accomplished Ginger plays three distinct and very different people. And half the time, Ray can't even tell them apart. The cause of it all is the gay Paramount comedy, The Major and the Minor, in which a unique script by Charles Brackett and Billy Wilder gave Ginger and Ray a delightful opportunity. And we have Ginger's own mother, Mrs. Leela Rogers, to play her mother. It's a story about a beautiful girl, that's Ginger, who runs out of money in New York and impersonates a youngster of 12 so she can buy a half-fare ticket home. You can see the possibilities when Ray Milland becomes her guardian for the trip. And, well, the story is full of surprises. And here's another story with more of the same, thanks to a lady here in California. I've been one of your audience since the inception of the Lux Radio Theater, she writes. And I'm a Lux toilet soap fan, too. My son is in the Army, and on the day of regimental inspection, he found himself without his first aid kit, which fits in the first pouch of his belt. With true Yankee ingenuity, he substituted a cake of Lux soap. which is about the same size and shape, and hoped it would get by the eagle eye of the CO. But as the general inspected the rear of the second rank, he stopped behind my son, pulled out the first pouch, and remarked, "Don't lose your soap, soldier." I'm glad he got off so lightly. Who knows, maybe the general uses Lux toilet soap, too. And now, here's the curtain for the first act of The Major and the Minor, starring Ginger Rogers as Susan Applegate and Ray Milland as Major Philip Kirby. You might have read about the Revigora hair treatment and scalp massage system back in 1941. It went something like this.
Men, are you troubled with dandruff? Is your hair getting just a bit thin on top? No need to be bald. Try the Revigora system. Call Maine 2000 and one of our skilled operators will call on you tomorrow. Have an egg shampoo in the privacy of your own home.
Miss Susan Applegate is a skilled operator for Revigora, and a very handy girl with an egg. But in the wicked city of New York, the lot of a skilled operator is not always a happy one. There are, for example, slightly bald gentlemen, like Mr. Osborne. Mr. Osborne will call Maine 2000 at the drop of a hair. Mr. Osborne wears dandruff on his collar and his heart on his sleeve.
Well, come in, young lady.
I'm from the Revigora system.
Yes, I know. You're new with Revigora, aren't you?
I just started this morning.
Well, the Revigora system is certainly picking up.
Where are we going to have the treatment?
Oh, anyway, we can talk about that later. What might your name be, my dear?
Applegate.
Just Applegate? Nothing in front?
Miss.
Well, miss, you make yourself comfortable. You know what I always say, no matter what the weather is? I say, why don't you slip out of that wet coat and into a dry martini? Dry martini, wet coat.
Can I put the vibrator over here?
Oh, the vibrator, yes. We're in no hurry, are we? At least I'm not. You know, I really have a very lonely time here Wednesday evening. That's when my wife goes to her first aid class. My only son's far away at school. Not reform school, but I sometimes think it ought to be.
Won't you sit down, please?
Oh, now, Miss Applegate, don't be so businesslike. First, we're going to have a little drinky poo, and a little bitey poo, and a little rumba poo.
No. First, we're going to have a little scalp massage poo.
Oh, now, please. We could make beautiful music together, we two.
About this tempo?
Oh, hey, that hurts. What kind of a brush is that, anyway?
Artificial. Then we're going to get a vibrator treatment and an egg shampoo.
I am not. Put that egg down.
Certainly.
Yeah. The first night off, and here I sit with an egg on my head. What are you going to do now? Scramble it?
Would you rather have an omelet?
Oh, now, Miss Applegate, listen.
Let go of my hand.
Oh, Miss Applegate.
Let go. I have another egg here. Would you like a face massage, too?
Now, Miss Applegate.
All right, here.
Why, you...
Wipe your chin. There's egg on it.
Miss Applegate, I'm certainly going to report this. I suppose you realize what that'll mean?
Yes, I know. The boot. And when you're making your squawk, you can tell them to pick up their vibrator with the rest of this junk.
What's all the excitement?
No excitement. I'm just bored. I take a 2-week course, learn all about hair and the circulation of the blood, and what do I get? An invitation to slip out of my wet coat into a dry martini. Well, by George, I think I will.
That's the spirit.
Keep away, Mr. Osborne. I'm through. After 1 year and 25 jobs in New York, Susan Applegate is signing off and going right back where she came from. You ever hear of Stevenson, Iowa?
Of course.
No, you haven't. It's dull. People there just walk around on 2 feet, and cars only have 4 wheels, and the grass is just plain green. Who wants that?
Oh, well,
Who wants a fellow by the name of Will Duffy who runs a feed and grain store? Why not look around? Well, I came and I looked around from every angle, from the bargain basement to the Ritz Tower. I got myself glanced over, slapped around, pushed off, past that. But there's one thing they didn't get out of me. Do you see this envelope? Sealed up in here from the first day I came, $27.50.
What for?
My fare back home. And if I've missed the train tonight, I'll take the one tomorrow, back to Stevenson. Goodbye, Mr. Osborne.
Talk, limited. Now ready on track 3.
Here you are, miss. 1 day coach, Stevenson, Iowa, the 9:55. Change to Chicago.
With pleasure. Here. $27.50 on the nose.
$32.50, miss.
$27.50, I know.
I'm sorry, miss. $32.50. Do you want the ticket or not?
Listen, if it's $27.50 from Stevenson to New York, don't tell me it's $32.50 from New York to Stevenson. It doesn't make sense.
They boosted the rate, lady, last February.
They did? Well, that's a fine thing for a big railroad to do. Okay, I'll take the bus.
Good idea, only the bus lines are on strike. Don't you ever read the paper?
What's going on all day?
Now,
just a minute.
Step aside, miss.
Look,
Step aside. Next.
Indianapolis. One ticket for me and one half for the little boy.
The under 12?
Well, certainly. Tell the man how old you are, Wilbur. No. Wilbur, tell the man how old you are. I won't. Nobody can make me squeal. I'm a coin crinkle secret operator. Oh, Wilbur. He's 9, honest.
All right, madam. I'll take your word for it. 1 fare and a half fare.
Did you hear that? If you were a kid under 12, you could go half fare. You've got enough money for that.
Yeah, but I'm not a kid under 12.
Well, you could make yourself look like one, couldn't you? You could go into the ladies' room and change your clothes. Put on that little sweater thing and that short skirt. It's kind of kiddish looking.
Yeah, but what am I going to do about,
about your hair?
Well, all right, my hair.
Put it up in pigtails. Then turn your hat brim up all around and let the ribbon hang down the back. You can wear those little sports socks.
Well, that sounds okay, but what am I going to do about...
Just stick your stomach out in your toes and sing nursery rhymes. Suppose you do get caught. What could happen to you?
Well, I could go to jail. But I'd do anything to get out of this town.
Well, go on. Change your clothes. You're a little girl, Susan. A nice little girl on her way to visit her grandpa.
Station master, New York City to conductor train number 7. Girl in day coach traveling on half-fare ticket to Stevenson, Iowa. Suggest you check age. Ticket, please.
Oh, here you are, sir.
Half fare?
Yes, sir.
Will you kindly stand up? Yes, miss, you. All the way up, please. How old are you?
12. Next week.
What do you think, Joe? I don't know. You're pretty big for 12, miss.
Oh, yes, we all are. My whole family. Swedish stock. My brother Olaf is 62, and he's only in the 2nd grade.
When were you born? Or what year?
What
year?
1929.
What do you say, Joe? I don't know. The clothes look okay for a kid. I'm talking about what's in them. He looks kind of filled out for 12.
Oh, well, you see, Mama says we all have some sort of grand trouble, too, in the family.
Here, wait a minute. You say you're from Swedish stock?
Uh-huh. We're all Swedes in my family.
Fine. And then suppose you say something in Swedish.
I want to be alone.
Come back here. Come back. Take the face.
Come on, Joe.
Just a moment, miss.
Stop there.
He won't get very far.
Stop.
Hello?
Oh, hello.
What's the matter, child?
Oh, nothing. I'm going.
Wait a minute. Are you lost?
Yes. No, sort of.
I mean, are you in the right car? This is car 64.
Oh, is it?
Yes, drawing room G.
Oh, me.
There's no need to be upset, child. You see, they give each car a different number, each compartment a different letter. They have to give streets different names and houses different numbers so people can find out where they belong. Now, where do you belong?
78 North Elm Street.
No, I mean on the train. Now, just think hard. What's the letter on your mother's compartment?
Well, I'm not with my mother. I'm alone.
Well, then where's your ticket?
The man took it.
The conductor? Then we'll have to ring for the conductor.
Oh, no, please.
Now, don't be foolish, child.
Well, but I don't need him. I know where I belong. I belong up in the day coat. Only I don't want to sit up in the day coat. It makes me feel sticky in my tummy.
Oh, well, maybe if I held your head.
No, thank you. It's just when I sit up or stand up.
Well, lie down, child. Quick, come on, lie down.
Oh, thank you. But this is your bed, isn't it?
Oh, that's all right. I have an upper. I'll ring for the porter and have him make it up.
Oh, no, please. I'll only take 5 minutes.
Oh, nonsense. You're going to sleep here.
Huh?
Why, certainly. How far are you going?
Stevenson, Iowa.
Well, you're all right for tonight, anyway. I get off at High Creek, Indiana. Now, I'll just ring for the...
No, please don't ring for the porter.
Now, why, child?
Well, because the porter will tell the conductor, and I'm scared of the conductor.
Why?
Because he's got long yellow teeth and little bitsy eyes and hands like a spider with big wet fur on them.
Now, look, wait a minute. Don't get so excited. Tell me, child, what is your name?
Susan. Only they call me Susie.
All right, Suzu. Now, don't you worry about the porter anymore. I'll make up the upper myself.
Well, you're very kind, but, well, my mother always told me that, well, you see, you are a strange gentleman.
Yes, of course, I know. Well, we can soon fix that. My name is Kirby, Major Philip Kirby of the United States Army.
Major? What, Major Bow?
Well, just about. You see, I'm assigned as an instructor to a military institute, teaching the young idea how to shoot.
Well, I'm glad to meet you.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Ah, that's all cleared up. Now to bed.
Oh, just a minute, Major.
Oh, look, Susu, please don't call me Major. Call me Uncle Philip, huh? Do you have a nightie with you?
Yes, Uncle Philip.
Well, then suppose you step inside there and get changed.
Do you really think so?
Why, sure. And just think out if you have any trouble with your buttons.
Oh, I haven't had any button trouble for a long, long time. Major Kirby. I mean, Uncle Philip.
Anything wrong? Stomach again? How do you feel, Susu?
So-so.
Come on there, Susu. Wake up, wake up.
Hey, what are you doing? Oh.
Good morning, Susu.
Oh. Good morning, Uncle Philip.
Did you sleep all right?
Yes, fine, Uncle Philip.
Good.
Has the train stopped?
That's right. You're being held up.
Held up?
Oh, no cause for alarm. There was a storm last night and washed out a bridge.
Oh, where are we?
Oh, about 30 miles from where I'm supposed to get off.
Hey, what are you squinting at?
Hmm?
What are you squinting at?
Oh. Well, that's an exercise I have to do. I've got a bum eye, you see, and I give it a 10-minute workout twice a day.
Oh, I wondered about your eyes.
You mean they're crossed?
Oh, no.
I wouldn't mind that. You see, as far as regulations are concerned, that wouldn't disable me. I'd just spend a week in Washington trying to get back into active service.
Are you sure they won't let you?
And I don't know yet. Say, what am I thinking about? You've got to have some breakfast. Now, come on, what do you want?
Oh, just some coffee.
Coffee? They don't let you have coffee.
Well, just a few drops in a big glass of milk. I call it coffee.
That's a nice cereal, huh? And I'm going to ask them in the club car to have a parcheesi board, then we can play till the train goes again until I get off, okay?
Well, about that parcheesi.
Rather make it checkers?
Well, after breakfast, that takes time.
What?
Well, maybe you better go out and let me get dressed first.
You know, Susu, you're a very peculiar little girl.
You bet I am. Philip boy, guess who came to rescue you? You can't get him up, you can't get him up, you can't get him up in the morning. Philip, I'm coming in. Hello. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I beg your pardon. I must be in the wrong drawing room. Or am I? Or are you? Why, that's Philip's coat. Why, are you? Oh, quiet. The conductor's not supposed to know. Nor, I imagine, am I. Oh.
Why, Pamela, hello. How'd you get on the train?
I was worried about you, Philip, darling. So Father and I drove 27 miles over suicidal roads to find out how my poor, lonely fiancé occupied himself on his trip home.
Pamela, what are you talking about?
I happened to have been in your drawing room and seen that woman.
Pamela.
Well, don't stand there looking innocent. I suppose that's her breakfast you're carrying into it.
Yes,
Oh, how cheap.
Pamela, this is so insane. This is utterly...
Yes, utterly.
Oh, Pamela, come back. Pamela. Oh.
Anything wrong, Uncle Philip?
Yeah, a little nosebleed, maybe.
That lady who was just here, is she your wife?
Did she bang me in the nose?
Mm-hmm.
No, why?
Good. I mean, I know it's good for nosebleed.
Oh, never mind, Susu.
This is what my mother does. I'm getting a collar. Some cold water down the back of your neck. That'll stop it.
This is all so silly.
My fault, isn't it?
Now, don't you worry about it, Susu. It'll straighten out.
Well, now, lean forward a little. This may be a little chilly.
Oh,
It'll be all right in a minute.
It tickles.
Stop waiting.
I don't bother. Oh! There, Father. You wouldn't believe it. Well, look. Just look.
My boy.
Settle here,
My boy, I'm ashamed.
Now, wait a minute, please.
Now, come along, Pamela.
Jiminy Christmas. Holy mackerel.
Who is that, Uncle Philip?
Just my commanding officer, head of the Institute, my prospective father-in-law. I was in hot water before, but now it's boiling oil.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, listen, Susan, I've got to ask you a terrific favor.
What?
I'll have to ask you to come along with me.
Come on with you?
Yes, to the Institute, to clear this thing up. Don't you see? The colonel must be absolutely convinced that well, you couldn't possibly understand it, Susan.
You mean I'm too young?
Yes. It's a sort of grown-up foolishness. Now, just accept it, please, and don't ask questions. Will you do it for me, please?
Well, I'd love to. I'd love to go with you. I mean, you've been so nice to me.
Oh, bless your heart, child. Now, about your parents.
Well, it's just my mother.
All right, I'll send her a telegram. It'll absolutely put her at ease.
What kind?
Well, how about, let your daughter untrain and look out for her last night.
Stop.
As we cannot proceed on account of high water, I'm taking her home with me.
Stop.
Don't worry, signed Kirby. Will that fix it?
Well, it'll certainly fix Mother.
In just a few moments, Mr. DeMille presents Ginger Rogers and Ray Milland in Act Two of The Major and the Minor. And now, here's Libby Collins, our Hollywood reporter, with a news item about a very special Victory gardener.
The gardener is Paulette Goddard, Mr. Kennedy. It may be news to most of our audience that Paulette owns a 70-acre farm in New York State. So just a few weeks ago, she took a special trip east to see about the spring planting. And knowing Paulette, I'll bet that vegetable garden will be a success.
Yes, the lettuce and the carrots ought to come jumping up fast just for a look at Paulette. And getting a look at Paulette Goddard is a project worth anyone's while. Don't you agree, Libby?
I certainly do. She's a real beauty with her huge blue eyes, auburn hair, and truly exquisite complexion.
Exquisite is the word for it, Libby. And maybe we're not proud that it's Lux toilet soap that cares for her $1 million skin.
Yes, Paulette's a Lux girl. Incidentally, Mr. Kennedy, do you know she never uses any makeup before the camera but lipstick and a bit of eyeshadow?
Well, the effect certainly is gorgeous, especially when the picture's in Technicolor. Now, Libby, why not be helpful by telling all the women in our audience just how Paulette Goddard takes an active lather treatment?
Oh, it's very simple. She smooths lots of the wonderful creamy Lux soap lather well in, rinses with warm water, and splashes with cold. Then pats her skin dry with a soft towel. She never neglects these daily beauty facials. They leave her skin feeling soft as velvet, she says.
Thank you, Libby. Remember, 9 out of 10 screen stars use Lux toilet soap, and the beauty soap has to live up to its name to be the daily complexion care of nearly every famous star in Hollywood. If you haven't already done so, why not make Hollywood beauty soap, Lux toilet soap, your personal beauty soap, starting tomorrow? Now, Mr. DeMille returns to the microphone.
Act Two of The Major and the Minor, starring Ginger Rogers as Susan Applegate and Ray Milland as Major Philip Kirby. Susan Applegate, age 24, alias Susu, the 12-year-old, has been conducted to the Wallace Military Institute to meet the faculty. In the conference room, she stands with her stomach turned out and her toes turned in as Major Kirby performs the introduction.
Now, don't be afraid, child. It's quite all right. Very nice people. This is Miss Pamela Hill.
How do you do, dear?
This is Colonel Hill.
Young lady.
This is Major Dolan.
How do you do?
And this is the Reverend Doyle.
Well, my dear.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is Susu Applegate, who will be 12 next week.
Hello. 12?
12 years old.
What a happy solution.
Oh, Philip, you adorable man. How utterly beguiling.
Miss Hill is my fiancée, Susu. Do you know what that word means?
Uh-huh. Can I go home now, Uncle Philip?
Home, all alone? All the way to Iowa with that stomach of yours? I should say not.
But it'll be all right now.
I'm telegraphing your mother. We've got to make some arrangements.
Please don't keep telegraphing my mother.
Did you say the child was going to Iowa?
That's right, Reverend Doyle. Stevenson.
Listen, I've got to get home. I'm way behind in my homework and my teeth. So Dennis has got to put the braces back.
Will you let me make a suggestion? I'm going to Des Moines on Sunday to open a memorial chapel.
You'll take Susu with you, Reverend?
Why, of
But that would be too long. You see, my piano teacher. I'm just beginning my three-finger exercise.
You're going to stay at our house, Lamington. I've got a little sister just your age.
But Sunday's 3 days off.
And it'll be 3 days you'll remember all your life, Susu. This is a treat that doesn't come to one girl in a million.
Does it have to come to me?
Listen, Susu. You like boys, don't you?
What boy?
Nice boys, about 14 years old. Come out on the balcony. Come on. You see? There they are, Susu. How's that? 300 of them, and all of them are yours.
Mine?
Oh, Uncle. What are you doing here, darling? Oh, Lucy! Lucy! What do you want, Pamela? Oh, Lucy, this is Susu Applegate, a friend of Philip. She
She's staying with you.
I know.
Lucy will take good care of you, Sue. I'll see you at lunch, dear.
Hello, Lucy.
Hello, you.
I met Major Kirby on the train. I was actually there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what a lovely room. Oh, look, goldfishes. Look at the ones with the floppy woppy tails. And the one with his nose sticking up. He wants his din-din.
Oh, cut the baby talk, will you? You're not 12 just because you're acting like 6.
What?
How old are you anyway? 20 or 25 or what?
Why, look. That's a funny thing to say.
Is it? Maybe you can bluff the grown-up. You can't bluff me.
Bluff? What do you mean, bluff?
That is what I mean. Your suitcase. I opened it when they brought it up here.
Oh, the suitcase. Well, that belongs to my aunt.
And those clothes, too, huh? And a pack of cigarettes?
Well, you see...
Save your breath. See all those books on that shelf? Biology. All biology. And they say you're no 12-year-old.
Okay, you win. At least I don't have to play baby snooks anymore.
Not with me, you don't.
Look, will you keep your mouth shut for $1? Listen, I had to get home, and all I could manage was half fare. $2?
I don't want your money. Well, how are you children getting on together?
Fine.
Oh, Sue, you're lunching at the officer's mess. You'll find it too beguiling. Oh, is there anything in your suitcase you want, Chris?
No, leave it alone. She's going to wear some of my clothes.
Why? She had a font pen in the suitcase, and there's ink all over everything.
Oh, glory.
Well, I'm glad you two are getting on tonight.
Listen, why didn't you tell your sister?
Because she's a stinker. I got some cigarettes here. Smoke?
Well, thanks.
If you'll excuse me, I won't join you. I find adolescence makes you nervous enough.
Hey, is there a bad date to this school or a service entrance or something?
What for?
Well, I'm getting out of here as fast as I can.
Oh, no, you're not.
Why not? What is it? The house's attention?
You're going to help me prevent a crime.
Of what?
The systematic destruction of a human being.
What are you talking about?
Philip Kirby. He hates his job here. He's dying to get transferred to active service, but Pamela's seen to it, but he'll never get it.
Never. Now, I heard her say she was willing to fall into Iceland, Trinidad, or any place you happen to be stationed.
I suppose that's why she's moved heaven and earth in Washington, to see he didn't get transferred. Pamela sticks out the husband she wants, and she wants him right here at Wallace Military. Nice, cozy, and beguiling.
What do you expect me to do?
I want you to help.
No, sirree. I got him into trouble, I got him out of trouble, and now I'm beating it.
Yes?
I'm reporting to Miss Applegate. Miss Applegate?
Yes, what?
The cadet adjutant regrets that he cannot escort Miss Applegate to luncheon.
The who?
The cadet adjutant.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
There was some discussion about which cadet officer had precedence. It was finally decided by drawing lots.
Oh, well, you didn't have to go to all that trouble.
The winner was Cadet Lieutenant Anthony Wigton, Jr. of Company D.
Well, you can just explain to the cadet lieutenant.
May I assure Miss Applegate that she will find Cadet Lieutenant Anthony Wigton, Jr. a very amusing escort. And pretty good looking, too.
Lucy, do I have to?
Uh-huh.
All right. When will you be here?
I am Cadet Lieutenant Anthony Wigton, Jr.
Oh, dear.
Hope you enjoyed your lunch, Miss Applegate.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Now, as I was saying about the Maginot Line... Oh, excuse me. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Miss Applegate, may I introduce Cadet Adjutant Babson.
How do you do?
Cadet Captain Osborne.
How do you do?
Cadet Captain Shoemaker.
How do you do?
And Cadet Lieutenant Miller.
How do you do?
Now, as I was saying...
Hey, what's the matter with those boys? Are they mad at me?
Oh, no, just ethics. This is my time. Osborne gets you at 2 o'clock. Shoemaker at 3 to 4. Babcock 4 to 5. And Miller 5 to 6.
Good Lord, that's solid.
Shall we sit down? Now, to get back to what I was saying. I always thought that the Maginot Line was all wet, didn't you?
Well, kind of damp, anyway.
The first lesson to be derived from this present war is the futility of stationary defense. Do you want to know how Sedan was taken?
How?
Well, this is Sedan.
Oh, no, that's my shoulder you've got there.
The weak point.
I'll get you. I'm away.
Now, a flank of the German army swung around to the Netherlands and Belgium. Then a Panzer division smacked right through here.
Hey, why, you little devil.
Hot stuff, huh? Then, of course, they took Paris. You, want to see how they took Paris?
Oh, no.
Oh, come on. That was just kindergarten. Paris is a real thing.
Let go.
Why, do not a minute.
Let go of me or I'll pinch your nose.
Oh, don't be silly.
Now let go. If you start moving that German army again, I'll yell, Lieutenant, I'll yell.
Miss Applegate, I've got a whole minute.
Wait.
Hey, easy there.
Oh, hello, Uncle Philip.
Playing games?
Well, sort of.
Where's your escort?
Oh, yes, there is. Maybe he slipped on a shoestring or something.
Youth. As someone with a beard once said, youth is such a wonderful thing, it's too bad it has to be wasted on the young.
Major Kirby, sir.
Oh, yes, husband?
Pardon me, sir. Miss Applegate, I was looking for you.
Oh, yes. She's from 2 to 3, Uncle Philip.
And where are you taking her, husband?
I had a little canoeing in mind, sir.
It sounds like fun.
Uncle Philip, you wouldn't care to come along with us.
No, you don't have to be polite from elderly relatives. Run along now.
This way.
Bye, Susan.
Bye.
Well, little lady, where have you been all my life?
Huh?
Miss Applegate, let me look in your eyes. You know what I see?
What? Lieutenant, you dazzle me.
Captain!
Oh, funny.
You know, you and I could make beautiful music together, we two.
What, Captain? You make these things up out of your own head.
Sure do. You see, I'm from New York.
Oh.
Yep, I've been kicked out of all the best schools in the East, and one in Arizona.
Hey, you're murdered.
Well, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about something else. Well, strategy, for instance.
Fine.
You know, I've got my own theory about the fall of France. Now, the first lesson to be derived from this present war is the futility of stationary defense. Now, here's Sedan, and this is the Maginot Line.
Here we go again.
Well, it's about Tutu Applegate. I'd like to speak to you about her.
But why, dear?
Well, I've been seeing her around the grounds with the boys, and frankly, I'm a little worried.
About the boys?
No, about her. You can't suddenly throw a young girl among 300 cadets and expect... Pamela, I think you ought to talk to her. You know.
Facts of life?
Yes.
No, thank you, darling.
It's not fair to the kid. Somebody ought to talk to her, really, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable.
Well, you talk to her, Philip. After all, you're her uncle. Now, look, Susu.
Lieutenant Miller, please.
Oh, but look, you know, you're very cruel.
You mean because I'm not interested in the fall of France?
It's so unfair. Wood can at least stop to see Dan. Please.
No.
Oh, Susu.
Oh, yes, Uncle Philip.
Susu, I'd like to have a few words with you. Can you come to my office for a moment?
Well, I'd love to. Well, goodbye, Lieutenant Miller. And I do love the way you can wiggle your ears.
It's not fair, that's all. Why can't I get to see Dan?
Hello. Well, Susu, how do you like it here?
I like it fine.
Did you have a nice time this afternoon?
Awfully nice.
Yes. Well, that's what I want to talk to you about. Sit down, Susu. Well, I suppose I should have spoken about all this before, but kids nowadays know so much, you know. Quiz kids and all that sort of thing. No more than I do, really.
About what, Uncle Philip?
You know about plant life and the laws of nature. I naturally took your knowledge of such things for granted, you see.
What things, Uncle Philip?
Oh. Well, vaguely boys. Boys and girls.
Does your collar hurt you, Uncle Philip?
No, it's just a little tight, that's all. So was I?
Boys and girls.
Oh, yes. Well, you see what I mean is, you ever watch Maud?
Maud? Like that one?
Yes.
Not lately, I haven't.
Yes, well, you know, when you turn on a light on a porch, they come at you from all sides, a lot of them, and they bang their heads against it and bump their wings.
We have screens on our porch.
Yes, that's you see, that's what I'm driving at, Suzu. Light does attract moths, and all we can do is put screens and dim the light.
Well, you can always go inside.
Yes, you can always go. Please, Suzu, don't throw me off like that. What I'm trying to say is that you don't want to be a light bulb now, do you? And have more so flapping at you and breaking their necks, pesting you. Now, do you?
No, it's never been a particular ambition of mine.
No. So you see, Suzu, a girl is like a light bulb as far as boys are concerned. That is, if she's pretty. And with 300 moths in this school, well, they're all just attractive, you see. And that's why we say a girl like you is attractive.
Am I?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. You've very nice eyes and good straight legs, and there's a sort of glow to your hair. I was watching you in the mess hall this afternoon.
Really?
Yes. That little red head of yours, it was a dandelion in a big meadow uniform. Well, frankly, I'll tell you something else, too. One day you're going to be a very charming young lady.
When?
Oh, 6 or 7 years.
Then you'll be a general and come to my graduation?
Mm-hmm. You know, Susan, when I look at you with just my bum eye, you look almost grown up. Like something in the Sunday supplement with the colors all run together. Kind of blurry, not a child anymore. Why, it's lovely. It's like a reflection in the water with the wind blowing. Susu, you're a knockout. Yeah. Yes, well, about those moths, I don't want all the boys in this school lose their fool heads, so if you have a little more reserve, maybe, if they try to hold your hand or to kiss you, you wouldn't like that, would you, Susu?
No.
No. Well, maybe if you made yourself a little less attractive or bit them or something. No, don't bite them. Perhaps if you took Lucy along.
Of course, Uncle Philip.
Yes. Well, I think we've about covered everything, so why don't you run along and have a good time, Only, up to then.
Bye, Uncle Philip. I'll try and be a well-behaved light bulb.
Oh, brother.
Hiya, Susu. Oh, hello, Lucy. What's the matter? You look all funny.
Yeah. You know, that's the doggonedest uncle I ever saw.
What's the matter with you?
Nothing, I guess. Except now I know what you mean when you say adolescence makes you nervous.
We pause now for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. After a brief intermission, Mr. DeMille and our stars, Ginger Rogers and Ray Milland, will return in Act 3 of The Major and the Minor. Well, here's Sally, and she has a touching little story to tell you tonight.
Once upon a time, there was a young lady who thought she didn't have to bother about beauty care. She thought her skin would just stay nice, even though she neglected it. But one day, she began to notice that her complexion was looking, a bit on the dull side. She began to worry. And that night, as she fell asleep with all the day's dust and makeup on her skin, she thought she was too tired to wash it off. She said, "Oh, dear, I used to have skin as pink and white as the princess in that big nursery book of mine, with the Mother Goose rhymes and pictures." Well, pretty soon she fell asleep. And suddenly, she was reading her Mother Goose stories again. Only now they were all different.
Little Miss Muffet sits on a tussock thinking about her skin. It would look much brighter and pinker and whiter. High time her luck facials begin.
And then along came Mary and her lamb.
Mary had a lovely skin. She had to stay that way. She bought some Gentle Luck soap and used it every day.
And then a little boy named Jack said,
"Gain the clever, gain the quick, and learn the active ladder trick."
And all of a sudden, Jane woke up with these words ringing in her ears.
"There was a girl in our town. She was wondrous wise. With lots of facial, she became the envy of all eyes."
And she said to herself, "Oh, I can hardly wait for morning to come so I can get some Lux toilet soap and start my beauty facials. I'm never going to neglect my complexion again." And she didn't, ever after.
Thanks, Sally. I needn't point out the moral of that story. I'll just say to lovely ladies everywhere, if your skin isn't looking as fresh and smooth as you'd like it to be, why not get some of Hollywood's complexion soap, Lux Toilet Soap, tomorrow? Now, our producer, Mr. DeMille.
After the play, we'll get up to date on the careers of our stars. But now the curtain rises on the third act of The Major and the Minor, starring Ginger Rogers and Ray Milland, with Leela Rogers as Mrs. Applegate. Susie the Minor has made a distinct impression on Philip the Major. and vice versa. Outwardly, Susan may be an adolescent, but inwardly, her pulse is hammering in adult tempo. Briefly, Miss Applegate is falling in love.
Listen, what's the matter with you anyway?
I told you, Lucy, nothing.
Then snap out of it. Here, listen, I want to read you something.
What is it?
A letter Pamela gave me to mail. I seen it open.
You've seen it? Now, that's a federal offense, baby.
It's too late now. Listen. Mrs. George T. McWhirter, Washington, D.C. Cornelia, darling, you beguiling creature. I understand your husband ran into my fiancé in Washington. Philip is an impetuous soul who insists that war is impending and he must be in it. That's nonsense. The fact is he's essential here, and I'm appealing to you to prevent this foolish transfer. Do you be a beguiling angel and see to it that your husband knows the real facts. All of it. So much love, darling. Pamela. You see?
Yeah.
Is that a match, Susu?
What for?
I'm going to burn this letter. What's this, Polly?
No, here, give it to me. Look, Lucy.
What?
How would you like Pamela to write Cornelia, darling, another letter?
You mean you write it?
Oh, better than that. Why can't Pamela call Cornelia, darling, on the telephone? It's an urgent matter, isn't it?
Lucy, do you think you could?
Well, I could try.
Oh, I always knew you'd help.
Did you? I didn't. Hello? Operator, I'm calling long distance to Washington. Yes. Mrs. George T. McWhirter, would you please hold the line, please?
Hello. Oh, Cornelia, darling. You beguiling creature. Of course it's Pamela.
Cornelia, dear, this is long distance, so you don't mind if I come to the point to you. Well, your husband has been an angel and promised to get my fiancé a transfer to active service. I can't tell you how important it is. Well, he's just disintegrating here. Oh, do talk to George and talk until he does it. Any transfer. I swim through the any place. Oh, may I depend upon you, darling? It's so terribly, terribly important.
Thank you, darling. So much beguiling love.
Bye, dear.
All together now, fellas. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, Susu Applegate. Who is that? Good evening, Miss Applegate. This is the Guard of Honor calling. Your special convoy to the dance. You'd better turn off the riot squad, Philip. Look at the boys around your knee.
Yeah, amazing the feel that kid has.
Yes. By the way, I had a report from the telephone operator. Did you know somebody called long distance from you last night? A girl?
You mean Susu?
Well, it wasn't I, darling.
Well, maybe she called her mother.
No, not her mother. Quite a bit more peculiar. That's all I can say just now. Boy, Susu, the way you make with a speech, it's like dancing with a puff of wind.
Thank you, Cadet Atchison.
Oh, don't be so formal, Susu.
Yes, dear.
Yes, Mother. Look, I've got visiting parent trouble. They're dying to meet you.
But this is the third waltz coming up, and I promised it to Major Kirby.
Oh, come on.
Well, look,
Come on. Oh, Mom needs Susu. We're that away. At least I am.
Oh, that dreadful slag. How do you do, my dear?
How do you do?
And this is my father, Mr. Austin.
How do you do?
I think I've had the pleasure before.
No, I don't think you've had the pleasure.
Well, I could swear it. Haven't we met someplace?
Now, wait a minute, Dad. I saw her first.
No, I'm sure we haven't met.
I must have seen you. Maybe you're somebody's daughter.
I don't know. I'm a sweetie stock.
Well, I sometimes eat smorgasbord.
Albert. Will you excuse me, please? This is the third waltz. Uncle Philip.
Oh, hello, Susu. I thought you'd ditch me for a younger man.
Oh, I'd never do that.
You sure? You know, Susu, this is your big night. You shouldn't waste it on me.
You don't want to sing?
All right, but I warn you, I can't reverse.
Major Kirby, beg pardon, sir. A telegram for you.
Excuse me, Susu. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
This is what I think it is. It's from Washington.
Washington? Well, read it.
Susu, I'm in. They've accepted me.
Uncle Philip. What's that, Philip?
Oh, bless you, Pamela. It came through. It's settled in the bag.
What is?
The transfer. And you did it for me, darling. You did it.
Did I? Well, I'm terribly glad for you, Philip, but don't you think we should discuss it a little? It's rather radical.
Well, how about a little dance night air? Come on. Oh, I'm sorry about our dance, Susu.
Oh, that's all right. And congratulations.
Thanks.
You know, Pam, it's as if a great big stone had rolled right off my heart to the front.
And right on mine.
No, not really.
There was the little matter of our wedding plans, remember?
No, I didn't forget that.
Did you read that telegram? Report to Washington within 1 week?
So we cancel the elaborate plans, get a license in the morning, and Reverend Doyle marries us around noon.
Everything a little condensed, as in the Reader's Digest, so no fact.
Pam, didn't you want me to get it? Didn't you help me?
If I did it was a mistake. And I'm perfectly sure it isn't too late now.
Oh, yes, it is. My decision is made. Now, if you want to change yours as far as we two are concerned, well...
Is that an ultimatum, sir?
Look, Pam, it is...
I guess it is. Good night.
You're doing fine, Uncle Philip.
Why, thank you, Susan. You know, it's very funny. I've just been through an experience that sort of breaks my back and weigh me down like lead. And look at me. I'm filled with helium. I've got an aluminum heart.
Why, you just reversed.
So I did. Oh, if Miss Parrott could only see me now.
Miss who?
Miss Jean Parrott, my dancing teacher. I was 12 and she was 40. I had a terrific crush on her.
Oh, that's an awkward situation.
Ah, yes, it is. Seems I'm always off schedule about 20 or 30 years.
Nice if there was some kind of agency. You know, with different buttons for different ages. You press one and you're 40. Just right for Miss Parrott.
Is there a button labeled going on 12?
Oh, Uncle Philip, this is my last night here, and there's so many things. I mean, well, there's one very important thing. Ever since I got on the train...
Oh, pardon me. The next is my dance.
Just a minute, please. Uncle Philip, do you suppose that when this ball is over at about 10:30, I could have a few minutes with you alone? Maybe right here. The guard of honor has to take me home, but I could sort of sneak back.
Secret, Susan?
Please, Uncle Philip.
Very well. 10:45 in this identical spot.
Hello. How was the dance?
Lucy, you got it. The transfer came from Washington. Yes, come on, help me.
What are you doing?
Getting a dress, a dreamy dress with some high heel slippers and bright red lip rouge.
Are you crazy?
Maybe. Well, I hope he doesn't hate me when he sees me as I really am. What's worse, he may laugh or even faint. Or he may say, you liar, why didn't you tell me in the first place? Well, better to tell him in the second place than not at all.
Would you mind being a little clearer? Where are you going?
Back to where the dance was. I'm going to meet him alone there. Oh, Lucy, pray for me.
Major Kirby. Major Kirby,
I'm here.
Hello, Miss Applegate. Oh, I thought it wise to postpone your appointment with Major Kirby. I told him little Susu's stomach is upset again. And now maybe we'd better have a little talk.
At your disposal, Miss Hill.
Yeah, got a lightning change. Let me see. Not bad now that your finger is out of your mouth.
Let's drop the cat and mouse stuff, Miss Hill. I make a very bad mouse.
All right, Miss Applegate. Briefly, Mr. Osborne remembered where he had seen you before. The Vigora Company, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. He was embarrassed, but he thought he ought to protect his son.
Are you protecting his son, too?
Yes. I'm also protecting my fiancé.
You don't love him?
Leave that to me. The alternatives are very simple. Either you get out of here exactly as you came, as little Susie Applegate, or there's going to be an extremely nasty scandal with somebody cashiered out of the service. Somebody rather useful.
Thank you for putting it on such a patriotic basis.
There's a train tonight at 11:40. Let's say your mother arrived, very agitated, and took you away in a great hurry. No time for goodbyes.
But I have no money.
I'll advance it.
Well, thanks. Any further orders?
Just pack your things and go, taking good care that nobody sees you. That's a rather foolish costume for a child of 12.
You should be very glad I'm not 12. I was a very straightforward child. I used to spit.
Mrs. Kathleen Applegate, Stevenson, Iowa. Mother dear, arriving noon Wednesday, love, Susan.
I can't understand what happened between you and Will Duffy, Susan. I thought you were coming home to marry him.
So did I, Mother.
And all you've done since you've arrived is lie there in that hammock and stare at the porch light. What in heaven's name are you looking at, Susan?
The moors. Did you ever notice the moors, Mother?
Moors? Now, Susan, I've had enough of this. Telephone.
Oh, I'll get it. Hello. Who? Susu Applegate? Well, who's calling? Oh, Major Kirby. Well, this is Mrs. Applegate. Yes, Major Kirby. Yes, my daughter's told me about you. Oh, I'm terribly sorry, but Susan isn't here. Well, where are you calling from? The station? Oh, I see. Well, I don't know. You see, this is rather awkward. The house is all upside down, and no, I don't think you'd better come, Major. Hello? Hello?
Well, what in the world, Susan Applegate? I couldn't understand a word you were saying.
Mother, now listen very carefully. A man is coming here, a major. He's going to ask you a lot of questions about your little daughter.
What little daughter?
You have a little daughter.
What do you mean I have a little daughter?
Mother, this is just something that happened on a train. On a train to me? No, to me.
Susan.
Now, we all came from Sweden. Are you crazy? No, it's just a little grand trouble, and we're all very tall.
Oh, Susan, I'm going to call Dr. Taylor.
Oh, Mother, it's got something to do with Washington. Don't try to understand it. Just do as I say, because it's going to be an awful mess if you don't.
Susan.
Listen, you're going to be the grandmother. I'll be the mother. Have you been married? Of course not. Now, look, lend me your apron, Mother. And your glasses. Quick, darling, he'll be here any minute.
Who?
The man, of course. Now, don't you think you better go up to your room? Go on.
I'm going.
Up to the attic to find your grandfather's horsewhip.
Good evening. I'm Major Kirby.
Good evening, Major. Mind your step on the porch. The light bulb is out.
Are you,
I am Mrs. Applegate.
Oh, yes, of course. It's amazing. On the way over, I kept wondering how Susan's mother would look. I knew there'd be a resemblance, but this is amazing.
Uh-huh. The way my daughter described you, I thought you'd look rather more like General Pershing, only 8 feet tall. Won't you sit down?
Yes. Thank you. Mrs. Applegate, I have only a few minutes between trains, but I had to stop by and see you. You don't know how fond I became of your daughter.
Did you?
Oh, yes. What a wonderful kid. Those 3 days she spent with us, it seemed as if spring had enrolled at Wallace Millersley. We were all very sad when we had to take her away so abruptly.
So you're going west, Major Kirby?
Yes, San Diego for embarkation.
Going far?
Overseas.
Tell me, Major, how was the wedding?
The wedding? Oh, magnificent, yes. Arches of steel, blizzards of rice, and the colonel as gay as a ghost.
How nice. Lucy would be heartbroken to learn that you were here and couldn't see her.
Yes, I'm sorry, too, but it is. But will you tell her that everybody sent their love? Lucy, Colonel Hill, Cadet Wigton, Cadet Stoll, just say companies A, B, C, and D.
And Mrs. Kirby?
Mrs. who?
Your wife.
Oh, Pamela. Oh, she didn't marry me.
But that wedding you were just talking about.
Oh, no, not me. You see, Pamela avoided making a great mistake. She married somebody much more stable.
Oh.
Yes, as I see it now, Pamela was absolutely right. No man in my position has any business to marry. Going away, goodness knows how far, into what I believe will be war.
And yes, many soldiers do marry.
Yes, don't they? There was a young chap from my outfit on the train, a second lieutenant. Had his girl with him. Going to stop off in Nevada. You can get married there in 5 minutes, you know.
You can?
Oh, yes. Then she'll take him to the troop ship. Goodbye kiss at the dock. Then a letter from him every 2 weeks, maybe. No. That's too much to ask of any woman.
I think you underestimate us, Major Kirby. Perhaps all a woman wants is to be a photograph, a soldier tacked above his bunk, or a stupid lock of hair in the back of his watch.
If it was only to hear what you've just said, Mrs. Applegate, I'm terribly glad I came. You will give Susu my love?
Yes, Major. I will.
Goodbye, Mrs. Applegate.
Goodbye, Major Kirby.
Station master. When did you say that train is coming? 2 minutes. Thank you.
Is the westbound due, Mr. Higgins?
Yes, Miss Applegate. 2 minutes.
Thank you.
I beg your pardon.
Yes?
What is your name?
Applegate.
Mrs. Applegate?
Miss Applegate.
Susu Applegate?
Susan Kathleen Applegate. You see, there are a lot of Applegates in Stevenson.
Yes, there are, aren't there? Hey, where are you going?
To the West Coast. Only I'm stopping in Nevada.
Nevada?
To marry a soldier. That is, if you'll have me.
A soldier?
An officer. He's going to war so that this country will be spared what happened to France. You know, I have my own theory about the fall of France. Now, this is Sedan, And there was the big Maginot Line.
True.
And the German army swung through the Netherlands and Belgium.
True, Applegate.
And the Panzer Division smacked right through here.
True.
For making the nation a little gayer tonight, our gratitude to Ginger Rogers and Ray Moran as they step back to the footlights with Ginger's mother. I believe this is the first time we've ever had a mother and daughter in the same play.
Phoebe and I talked it over beforehand. We figured it a good way to keep Ginger in line.
You should be able to do that, Ray, after all the work you two have done together. Working with Ray is getting to be a career in itself.
Right after the major and the minor, I thought it was very shrewd of Paramount to put you two in Lady in the Dark. But our audience may not know that picture has been in work for 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months? What do you mean? When I started Lady in the Dark, I was just a young lad. I'm as old as...
Keep your eye off me, Sonny. Why did the picture take so long, Ginger?
Well, there were a lot of pretty effects in it. Dreams that were photographed through dry ice cream so that it would look as though I was floating on cars.
One of the dry ice numbers was a wedding with hundreds of guests and a 30-foot wedding cake. So Ginger went out and married a Marine with 2 witnesses. I don't know about the cake.
Oh, it was a small one, right?
Marrying a Marine is very popular these days. Where is he, Ginger?
San Diego.
And where are you?
San Diego, as soon as this broadcast is over. I'd like to stay long enough to tell those who haven't heard about Lux Soap that they're missing something really good. Or does everybody know that?
There is sometime, Ginger. Lux Soap gets around. Now, Mrs. Rogers, I want to ask you just one thing. When you and Ginger came to Hollywood, were you sure she'd become a star?
I guess it seems to be serious, Mr. DeMille, that I was probably the only person in Hollywood who thought she had a chance. I wouldn't want Mother to hear this, Mr. DeMille, but I didn't think so at all.
It's just between you and me and 30 million others, Phoebe. What's the play next week?
Well, Ray, it's one of the screen's current hits. The 20th Century Fox drama, My Friend Flicker. And our stars will be George Brent, Robbie McDowell, and Rita Johnson. It's a very simple story of a boy on a western ranch and the friend he loves most of all, the little horse, Flicker. You'll hear Robbie McDowell as the boy and George Brent and Rita Johnson as his father and mother in this drama of the great outdoors next Monday night.
It's a very beautiful story, Mr. Mill. And good night.
All right.
Good night. The major and the minor was a major event. Our sponsors, the makers of Lux Toilet Soap, join me in inviting you to be with us again next Monday night when the Lux Radio Theater presents Robbie McDowell, George Brent, and Rita Johnson in My Friend Flicker. This is Cecil B. DeMille saying good night to you from Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, last week our fighting men lost many pounds of smokeless powder here in California. In New York, they lost some anti-aircraft shells. They're losing such things every day, everywhere. And it isn't sabotage, it's just waste. The waste fat that housewives are throwing away. So save all the waste fat from your kitchen to make glycerin for high explosives. Take these fats to your meat dealer and start them on the road to victory. Heard in tonight's play were Paula Winslow as Pamela, Joan Loring as Lucy, Arthur Q. Bryan as Mr. Osborne, Peter Rankin as Cadet Wigton, Billy Roy as Cadet Osborne, Frank Cogden Jr. as Cadet Moore, and Ken Christie, Fred Mackay, Norman Fields, Charlotte Sedway, Harry Worth, and Boyd Davis. Our music was directed by Louis Silver. And this is your announcer, John M. Kennedy, reminding you to tune in next Monday night to hear Robbie McDowell, George Brent, and Rita Johnson in My Friend Flicker.
Mothers, everyone knows it's harder to get vitamin-rich foods in these days of food rationing and shortages. But have you thought about giving your family BIMS? BIMS are scientifically designed to help make meals complete. They give you all the vitamins government experts say are essential, balanced in the formula doctors endorse. And Vims supply all the minerals commonly lacking. Get Vims at your druggist. VI for vitamins, double MS for minerals. Get that Vims feeling. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invites you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his good friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And if you ask me, the best way to listen to that story is to do it with a glass of port wine right handy. Petri California port. No kidding, that Petri port is just swell for any time good friends get together to talk things over. You couldn't ask for a more delicious wine. Why, just looking at the deep, rich red color of that Petri port tells you that here's a wine with a flavor that comes right from the heart of sun-ripened grapes. If you haven't ever tried Petri port, why not get a bottle and have a glass after dinner tomorrow night? It's a perfect after-dinner wine, you know. And share that port with your family and your friends. And don't forget, when you serve Petri port, you can serve it proudly. Because after all, the name Petri is the proudest name in the history of American wines. And now let's keep our weekly appointment. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Draw up a chair.
Thank you.
That's it. By the way, do you know what date it is?
November 5th, isn't it?
That's right. In England, it's known as Guy Fawkes Day. Have you ever heard of it?
It's something to do with a gunpowder plot, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Bartell, it is. And as Sherlock Holmes and I had a very unusual adventure on the 5th of November many years ago, it seems appropriate that I should tell you about it tonight. But before I begin, I think it might help you to appreciate the true flavor of the story if I tell you a little about the origin and the customs of Guy Fawkes Day.
It's a swell idea, Dr. Watson.
Well, my boy, on November the 5th, 1605, exactly 340 years ago today, King James I was about to attend the opening of Parliament when a plot was discovered to blow up the House of Lords during the ceremony.
And the chief conspirator was Guy Fawkes, I suppose?
Yes, he was. He was captured in a vault immediately below the House of Lords, a vault full of barrels of gunpowder. Of course, he and his fellow conspirators were executed. And ever since then, November the 5th has been known as Guy Fawkes Day.
Well, how's it celebrated, Doctor?
Well, it's a great time for the youngsters, Mr. Bartell. They black their faces, throng the streets, begging for pennies, and build bonfires in which to burn effigies of Guy Fawkes. These effigies are life-size dummies, stuffed with straw and dressed in old clothes. The children parade them in the streets chanting rhymes. Well, now, let me see. Pleased to remember the 5th of November. Guy Fawkes Guy, hit him in the eye.
The kids must have quite a time. Sort of like Halloween, huh, Doctor?
Yes, not unlike it, my boy. Well, now that I've told you something about the customs of Guy Fawkes Day, I'll get on with my story. It began just before lunch, I remember, on November the 5th, 1899. The day was foggy and cold, and Holmes and I were seated each side of a blazing fire in our Baker Street rooms. From outside, we could hear the sound of voices laughing and singing. Suddenly, Holmes rose and crossed to the window, opened it, and looked out. Then he turned to me and spoke.
Children are having a great time, Watson, aren't they?
Yes, it cost me a shilling worth of pennies to walk here this morning.
Has it occurred to you, Watson, that the gunpowder plot offers very promising material to the speculative mind?
In what way, Holmes? I say it's confoundedly chilly in here. Don't you think you might shut that window?
Sorry, old chap. As I was saying, the gunpowder plot offers very promising material to the speculative mind. I've made something of a study of the historical records of the case. There is more than a little evidence to suggest that King James was never in any real danger.
Never in any danger? Well, what makes you say that?
Knowledge of the proposed dastardly scheme came to light early. But James Stuart, King of England, the possessor of a shrewd and diabolical mind, used the spectacular discovery of the plot to try and bolster his waning popularity. as well as to justify increased religious persecutions.
Well, that's the first I've heard of it, Holmes.
I dare say, old fellow, but it's true just the same. I'm afraid James Stuart, King of England, was an unscrupulous tyrant. Come in. Oh, yes, Mrs. Hudson?
There is a gentleman to see you, Mr. Holmes. He said it was very important, and he asked me to give you his card.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Oh, ask him to come up, please, will you?
Aye, sir.
Who is it, Holmes?
A gentleman with a remarkably fine sense of timing. Read his card for yourself.
Let's have a look. Mr. James Stuart. Great Scott, that's an extraordinary coincidence that he should arrive just as we're talking about James Stuart, King of England.
Come in.
Mr. James Stuart.
How do you do, Mr. Stuart? My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir? How do you do?
Mr. Holmes, you've got to help me. I'm walking about in mortal fear of my life. You've got to help me.
Mr. Stuart, I suggest that you sit down. I'll do anything in my power to help you, but you must compose yourself first and tell me quietly what it is that's frightening you.
How can I compose myself when I may be dead within a few hours?
No, Mr. Stuart. I'm a doctor. I really think if I were to give you a sedative that you'd find...
How can you talk of sedatives when I... My heart. Doctor. My heart.
All right. Now, here, let me help you into this sofa. There you are now.
Imagine that brandy would be in order, Watson.
Yes, Holmes, and I'll give him some digitalis. A fellow with a bad heart like this shouldn't allow himself to get so excited.
Here you are, Mr. Stuart. Drink this.
That's it. And now this, Mr. Stuart.
What is it?
It's digitalis.
Very well.
There now. Feel better, sir?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Yes, I do. You're right. I shouldn't get so excited. My heart can't stand it, you know.
Watson, is he well enough to talk, do you think?
Yes, if he doesn't excite himself again.
I'll be careful, Doctor. I'll take it quietly. Mr. Holmes, when you saw my card just now, did it strike any responsive chord?
Naturally, sir. Who could fail to be intrigued when a James Stuart calls to see one on Guy Fawkes Day?
It isn't just coincidence that my name is James Stuart. I've got royal blood in my veins. People know of it. And that's another reason they're out to kill me. They're jealous of my heritage. Every instinct I have is a royal one. Now, you gentlemen know that falconry is a king's sport. And my greatest hobby is the breeding and the training of falcons.
Mr. Stuart, please, Mr. Stuart. Owing to the state of your health, I suggest that you be as economical as possible in your explanation. In fact, I think it might be better if I were to question you.
Very well, Mr. Holmes.
Now, you say that your life is in danger. What evidence do you have to substantiate that claim?
My cousin, Guy Falconby, has threatened it. You see, Mr. Holmes, he and I are the only heirs to a wealthy uncle. His fortune will go to the surviving heir. If I were dead, Guy would inherit everything.
It seems to me, Mr. Stuart, that you should have applied to Scotland Yard for protection.
I did, Dr. Watson. Only a few days ago I saw a certain Inspector Lestrade, I think his name was, and he laughed at my fears.
Oh, Lestrade. And he laughed, did he? Well, then in that case, there may be something in your story, sir. You say that your cousin has threatened to kill you. Has he indicated the method he intends to employ?
He has. And it's a devilish plot. Guy has a bitter, twisted sense of humor, gentlemen, even when he's planning as dastardly a thing as a murder. I am James Stuart. He is Guy Falconby, which is near enough to Guy Fawkes. Today is the 5th of November, and he's planning to blow me up.
Oh, come, sir. You can't expect us to believe that.
But it's true. He warned me. And the celebrations that are going on in the streets of London today would make a rare cloak for his activities.
I must confess, Mr. Stuart, that I find your story most unconvincing. All your evidence appears to depend on conversations held between you and this cousin of yours. You have no facts, sir, to substantiate your claims.
But I have.
Then please let us hear them.
I live at 23 Cavendish Square. A week ago, the house next door to me was let to a new tenant. Almost immediately, workmen became very active there. They were digging in the cellars, Mr. Holmes. I could hear the sounds of picks and shovels through the walls.
Digging in the cellars? That does sound significant, doesn't it, Holmes?
Extremely. Did you observe any other activities of the workmen, Mr. Stuart?
Aye, Mr. Holmes. Vans have been delivering large packing cases to the basement during the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's in them, too. It's gunpowder. I tell you, they're planning to blow me up today.
No. Steady. You mustn't excite yourself again.
What shall I do, Mr. Holmes?
I think, sir, it would be better for you to rest here for a while and then go to a nearby hotel. I would suggest the Shaftesbury. And wait there until you hear from us.
And where are you gentlemen going?
Watson and I, after donning suitable disguises, will visit the house adjoining yours in Cavendish Square. I think an examination of the cellar there might prove most illuminating.
This must be the house, all right, Holmes. The empty packing cases are still by the foot of the basement steps.
Come on, Watson. Let's go down and explore.
Upon my soul, I feel a little self-conscious in these clothes.
No need to, my dear chap. You look a most authentic inspector of plumbing.
Well,
If anyone challenges us, you'd better let me do the talking, though. I think my accent might be a little more convincing. Shh. Listen.
I can't hear anything.
Exactly. Then we may reasonably assume that either the workmen are observing the Guy Fawkes holiday or that their work is done. Come on, let's try this door.
It's unlocked.
Yes. Huh. This is too easy, Watson. We must be prepared for a trap. Come on.
I've got my revolver handy if there's any trouble.
I don't use it until I tell you to. Remember, we're supposed to be plumbing inspectors.
It's pitch black in here. I can't see a thing.
Strike a match. See if you can find a gas jet.
Strike a match when the cellar may be full of gunpowder?
Can't take the risk, old chap.
Oh, here's a gas jet. I'll light it. That's better. Now we can see a little.
Uh-huh. I think the workmen have completed their job. See that new wood forming a crude door in the corner over there?
Where does it lead to, do you suppose?
Let's find out. Oh, also unlocked. And here's a miner's lantern, waiting conveniently for us on this ledge. Oh, this is ridiculously easy. Now I'm sure it's a trap.
I like the lantern. Great Scott, it's a tunnel.
Yes, it's a tunnel leading into Mr. Stewart's house next door. Let's explore it.
Look, Holmes. Look at the barrels. I bet they're full of gunpowder.
Undoubtedly. We'll observe the fuses as well. Yes, the complete equipment for another gunpowder plot.
I can't believe my eyes. What a fantastic plan, but how could the murderer be certain that Stewart would be killed in the explosion?
I think that's easily answered, Watson. Remember Mr. Stewart's bad heart? In his present state of apprehension, an exploding firecracker would be enough to kill him.
Oh, I suppose so. Hello? Hello? What's this lying on the floor? Curious. It's a funny strip of silk with a little ring on the end.
Let me see it, Watson. Aha. This seems to be familiar. By Jove. I believe it's a Jess.
A Jess? What on earth's that?
The last piece of evidence necessary to confirm the conclusion
Come
as to
out of there! And keep your hands above your heads! I've got a revolver!
Right, you Governor. We ain't doing no harm. Now, remember, Watson, I'll do the talking.
Come on! Out you come! Well, you're a comical-looking pair. What are you doing in there?
Me and my mate got a message to come over here and see to the plumbing, mister.
Plumbers, eh? Do you have any identification?
Yes, sir. Here's my badge. We're inspectors for the London County Council.
Oh, that's all right, my man. I saw the basement door open, and I thought burglars might be here.
You're the owner of this house, sir?
Yes, but my agent let it recently to some tenants who've been behaving rather queerly, I'm told. So I came round here to see what was happening.
If you're the owner, sir, perhaps you can give me some facts for me records. Gotta fill me records, you know.
What do you want to know?
Well, your name, please, sir.
Falconby. Guy Falconby.
Look here.
Alfie, hold your nose.
What did he say?
Nothing, sir, nothing. He's got bad hiccups. I've had him for months now. Can't stop him. Alfie, here, give me a pencil, will you? Thank you, Alf. Now, sir, your name is Guy Falconby. What's the name of the tenant this house is let to?
There are 3 of them.
Oh, do you know their names, sir? Got to have them for me records, you see.
Yes, the names are Winter, Rokewood, and Keynes.
Oh, yes. Winter, Rokewood, and Keynes. That's right, sir. Sounds as if they might be a firm of solicitors, don't they, sir?
Well, perhaps they are. I haven't met them.
Just one more question, sir, and then I needn't bother you no more.
Well, what is it? My religion or my grandmother's maiden name?
No, sir. No, nothing like that. I just wondered who lived in the house next door on that side. We've had a complaint from there, too. Their pipes is bunged up.
My cousin lives there. His name's James Stewart.
Mr. James Stewart, eh? Oh, much obliged, sir. Me and my mate will be going next door, then. Come on, Alfie.
I'm not surprised his pipes are bunged up, as you so graphically put it. He's a great one for practical jokes about the house. As a matter of fact, he's planning one of them tonight. Well, that's no concern of yours. By the way, my man, what's your name?
Nivitt, sir. Tom Nivitt. Come on, Alfie. We got work to do.
Holmes, I wish you'd tell me what's going on. Why have we taken this cab back to Baker Street?
Get out of these clothes. They've served their purpose. Now there's more serious work afoot.
Well, I'm still confused about our interview with Guy Falconby. Why did you say your name was Tom Nivitt?
More touch of vanity, old fellow.
Vanity? How do you mean?
Well, consider the names in this case so far, Watson. James Stewart says that he's been threatened by Guy Falconby. A name, as Mr. Stewart points out, not unlike Guy Fawkes. Do you recall the names of the three tenants that Mr. Falconby gave us a few minutes ago?
Yes. Winter, Rookwood, and Keynes. But what's that got to do with it?
A great deal, my dear fellow. Thomas Winter, Ambrose Rookwood, and Robert Keynes were the three men executed with Guy Fawkes in the original gunpowder plot in 1605.
Good Lord, but where does Tom Nivitt, the name you gave yourself, fit into the picture?
Thomas Nivitt was the Westminster magistrate who arrested the conspirators. Since the would-be murderer has such an academic knowledge of the original plot, I thought I'd let him know that he was up against an opponent worthy of his steel.
We'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a few seconds. Just about time for me to remind you that if you want a wine that's sure to please the ladies, you can't miss with Petri California Muscatel. That's because Petri Muscatel is a golden wine with one of the most luscious flavors you ever tasted. Did you ever taste a big, plump muscat grape that's ripened in the sun? If you have, then you know what to expect when you taste Petri Muscatel. It's a wonderful wine. Perfect after dinner and swell when company comes. Just remember that, won't you? Petri Muscatel. Well, Doctor, you and Mr. Holmes were certainly having yourselves quite a Guy Fawkes day. What happened when you got back to Baker Street?
We quickly changed out of our disguises and back into our ordinary clothes. I was still pretty much in the dark, as usual. And I kept questioning Holmes as to our next move. He was in a state of suppressed excitement. And it was obvious as he spoke to me that he was anxious to be off.
Watson, don't dawdle. There's so much work ahead of us.
What do you mean, don't dawdle? I'm not dawdling. I'm dressing as fast as I can. What's our next move, anyway?
Well, we must split our forces. Must get hold of my band of street urchins, the Baker Street Irregulars. I'm going to surround Mr. Stewart's house in Cavendish Square, and they'll be invaluable for that purpose.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Go to the Shaftesbury Hotel and collect Mr. Stewart, then return with him to his house and wait me there. I shall join you as soon as I've rounded up the irregulars, but I must warn you. Don't leave Mr. Stewart for a moment. Don't let him out of your sight until you see me again.
Of course I won't, Holmes, but, I must say, the idea of all that gunpowder in the cellar doesn't make me feel any too
have
happy.
Faith in me, old chap. Have faith in me. You know, I wouldn't expose you to any danger if I could avoid it. And I assure you that I shall join you and Mr. Stewart very shortly. You have your revolver?
Yes, of course.
Good. And, give Mr. Stewart this revolver, will you? Tell him that I insist that he carries it. I fear that his own has probably been tampered with.
Right you are, Holmes. I'll see that he has it. This is a strange business, I must say. That Guy Falconby seemed such a decent sort of fellow.
Yes, he appeared to be a most amiable fellow, didn't he? This is indeed an unusual case, Watson. We're up against one of the most sinister and twisted antagonists that we've ever met. Well, old chap, I'm leaving now. I'll join you soon. And don't forget, stay close to Mr. Stewart. Stay very close to him.
Dr. Watson, I wish your friend were here.
No. Don't get so excited, Mr. Stewart. He'll be here any moment now. You've still got the revolver that I gave you?
Yes, it's in my pocket. But what's the good of a revolver if there should be an explosion? Answer me that if you can.
No, you must have faith in Mr. Holmes, sir. He's arranging now to have this house of yours surrounded by his band of street urchins. They'll see that no one gets to the cellar next door to light the fuses.
A bunch of children. How can they do anything?
You don't know the Baker Street Irregulars, Mr. Stewart. And it's a perfect day for them to operate. As black-faced boys begging for pennies, they'd pass unnoticed anywhere.
I hope you're right. But I have a premonition, Doctor. There's going to be a tragedy. I know it.
Now, take it easy, sir. Remember your heart. You're in splendid hands when Sherlock Holmes is on the case. Here he is now. Holmes, I say, I'm glad to see you.
You received your visitor yet?
Visitor? We've seen no one.
Then be on the alert. I've just been questioning the boys surrounding this house. A few moments ago, some children pulled a small cart up to the back door. A cart containing a life-size dummy. My irregulars thought that it was an effigy on its way to a bonfire.
Oh, why shouldn't it be, Holmes?
I have reason to believe that it's someone visiting you in disguise, Mr. Stewart. A visitor who is mounting the back stairs at this very moment.
You've got to stand by me, Holmes. You've got to protect me.
Don't worry, sir. Come in.
Look at that apparition.
Great Scott, a Guy Fawkes dummy. A dark lantern in his hand, and it's walking.
And also talking, I trust.
Keep away from me. I got a revolver.
Stick for a stake for Victoria's sake. If you won't give me one, I'll take two. The better for me and the worse for you.
It's Guy Falkenberg.
Keep away from me, do you hear?
The better for me and the worse for you.
All right, then. I'm going to fire.
Dear me, Mr. Stewart, the revolver I provided for you seems to be unloaded. How very odd.
Well, what in fun is all this about?
You have just witnessed an attempted murder, Watson.
Murder? What are you talking about? This is a game. James and I had it arranged, the whole thing.
You may have thought it was a game, Mr. Falconby, but I assure you that your cousin... Grab Mr. Stewart, Watson. He seems to be leaving us.
Leave me alone. Take your hands off me. My heart.
Here, help me put him on the sofa. That's it. I'll get him some digitalis.
Look, I don't want to appear unnecessarily stupid, but will someone tell me what this is all about?
With pleasure, Mr. Falconby. Your cousin had planned one of the most fantastic murder plots that I've ever encountered. He came to us with the story that you had threatened his life.
But that's ridiculous. I'm very fond of him.
Of course it's ridiculous. The whole plot was ridiculous. He leased the house next door, had a tunnel dug, and gunpowder and fuses planted there. Even entered the name of the tenants as Winter, Rokewood, and Keynes to give the apparent plot a further authenticity.
You mean my cousin was the real tenant?
Certainly he was. However, he was clumsy enough to drop that piece of silk with the wire ring on the end that you found in the cellar, Watson.
The thing you called a jess.
And what's a jess?
It's a strap that goes round a falcon's leg to which its leash is fastened. You will remember that Mr. Stewart informed us that falconry is his hobby, and it therefore indicated that he had been in the cellar and consequently must have known about the whole plot.
And all he was trying to do was to build up in our minds the belief that his cousin was trying to kill him.
Exactly, my dear fellow. Had we believed him, of course, he could have shot you just now, Mr. Falconby, in apparent self-defense.
Good Lord, what a fantastic plot. I still can't quite believe
Mr. Falconby, why are you dressed as a Guy Fawkes dummy?
Well, it was James's idea. He said that he was going to dress up too, and that we were to go round the bonfires tonight and frighten people by appearing as live dummies. But the last message he sent told me to come up here, that we'd play a practical joke on a couple of friends of his.
Did he provide you with the costume that you're wearing?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he did.
Have you searched the pockets for any weapons?
No, but I will.
All right, and while you're doing that, I'll examine this dark lantern. How's your patient, Watson?
Well, I've given him some digitalis. And now I'll get him some brandy.
I can't find anything in the pockets.
Here's the answer, my friends. Look here. Inside the lantern is a dagger. Your cousin planted it there to substantiate the claim that you were trying to kill him. Had his plans worked, you would have been dead, Mr. Falconby, before you could have told us the truth.
Here, come back here, Mr. Stewart.
James! He slipped out of the door.
Confound it! He's faking the heart attack. Come on, Watson, after him.
Holmes, where are you? Out of the way, please.
Blimey. Here comes the Lord Mayor of London, chums.
Excuse me, please. I'm trying to find a friend of mine. Most important. Holmes, where are you? Get out here, Watson.
I hear you calling me.
Out of the way, please. I'm coming, Holmes.
Why don't you send me a postcard?
You got away from me in the crowd.
I'm afraid Mr. Stewart got away from us.
Well, we'll never find him in this mark.
Not too old, fellow. He's a dangerous man. There's no knowing what he may do. Where are the irregulars? There's Wiggins.
Wiggins?
Hello, Mr. Elms.
Wiggins.
Dr. Watson.
Did you see a man run out of that house a few minutes ago?
No, Governor. Perhaps Charlie did. Hey, Charlie, come over here a minute. It's Mr. Elms. All right. I bet Charlie didn't see anything, though. He's got some savvy girl with him.
Hello, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Charlie.
Did you see a man run through this crowd a few minutes ago? A tallish man with a gray mustache?
Yes, I did. A man came running out of the house over there. That's the house.
Where'd he go?
He ran down toward where the shops are. And he stole our dummy, he did. The one we are going to burn in the bonfire. I tried to stop him, but he got away.
Holmes, look up there on the roof. There's a figure. By Jove, I believe it's James Stewart.
That's the man. He's the one that stole our dummy.
He's standing up on the roof. He's going to jump.
If he does, he's going to land in the bonfire.
There he goes. He is jumping. Right into the middle of the fire.
It's awful. He'll be burned to death.
Don't worry, Wiggins. There wasn't a man who fell into the bonfire.
What do you mean?
From the gyrations that the figure performed as it fell, my dear Watson, I'm convinced that Mr. Stewart threw the stolen dummy to try and put us off the track.
Then Stewart's still up there.
He is, Watson. Come along, old boy. It's up on the rooftops for us. Up on the rooftops. Here, Watson. Let me help you up. Can you reach my hand?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, then. Up you come. Come on. That's it.
Phew. Seems to me that fire escapes must be designed for giants.
Keep your eyes skinned, old fellow. Stewart's a dangerous man. Might be hiding behind those chimney stacks. Come on.
Upon my soul, this is a strange place to be on Guy Fawkes night.
Yes, a comprehensive case, Watson. Starts in a cellar and ends on a rooftop.
Look, Holmes. By the parapet there.
The crumpled body of Mr. Stewart.
Looks to me as if it... Yes. He's dead, Holmes.
Well, it's not surprising. The effort of carrying the dummy up here and throwing it, combined with his own state of excitement, were too much for him. Well, quite frankly, I can't say that I'm sorry.
No, he planned a murder. If it hadn't been for you, he would have succeeded. An extraordinary case, Holmes.
Yes, old chap, and one that should long make us remember the 5th of November.
By Joe, yes.
Please to remember the 5th of November. Gunpowder treason and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgotten.
Well, Doctor, as you boys would say, that story was a bit of exciting, what?
Yes, and even now I sort of lose my breath when I remember climbing that fire escape.
You know, Doctor, those two fellas certainly went out of their way to celebrate Guy Fawkes Day. Now, take me. When I got a little celebrating to do, I like to do it quietly. Some friends, a glass of port.
Yeah, Petri port, of course.
What else?
Leave it to you. No matter what the occasion is, you can somehow make it a perfect occasion for Petri wine. How do you do it, old fella?
Don't ask me how I do it. You mean, how does the Petri family do it? How can they make such swell wine? Well, the answer is experience. The Petri family has been making fine wine for generations. And ever since they first established the Petri business way back in the 1800s, they've handed on down from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious, sun-ripened California grapes into fragrant, delicious wine. That's why when you want a wine for any occasion, before dinner, with your meals, or after dinner, you can't go wrong with a Petri wine, because Petri took time to bring you good wine. And now, Dr. Watson, what Sherlock Holmes adventure are you going to tell us next week?
An old favorite, Mr. Bartell, a story that concerns strange music that was heard in a lonely house in the English countryside, and of the living death that stalked there. I call it The Adventure of the Speckled Band.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in this Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Adventure of the Devil's Foot. Music was by Dean Fossler. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studio. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
The National Broadcasting Company, in conjunction with the Fund for Adult Education, presents Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville.
Well, Tocqueville, what are you thinking about as you stare at these picturesque shores? Are you thinking about America?
About America? No. I do not see America. I see more than America. I am trying to make out the image of democracy itself, with its inclinations, its prejudices, and its passions.
Where could I be better off? A study in Jacksonian America. Item 1 in the series Democracy in America. Prepared by the Division of General Education of New York University, under the direction of George Probst, American historian. A series designed to bring to life the America of 1831, as recorded by Alexis de Tocqueville, and so to illuminate the image of democracy itself. A study in Jacksonian America. Where could I be better off?
The month of May, 1831. The president, Old Hickory, General Andrew Jackson. And this is New York City. Over 200,000 people live here. Across the clear, fresh water of the East River, we look at Brooklyn, New York's dairy, a countryside of breezy heights and pasture land and cows. And looking across the beach is a New York clam dealer in an orange check waistcoat, tight-fitting gray gaiters, and a plug hat as tall and stately as a belfry with rips in the sides as if to let the noise of the bells out.
Clams, choice clams, here's your Rockaway Beach clams, fine sand clams.
But his mind is on the New York Consolidated Lottery.
To be had in the greatest variety of lucky numbers at Arnold, 313 Broadway, opposite the Masonic Hall.
10 years ago, the state legislature had forbidden the famous old New York lotteries, but the proprietors are still finding loopholes to satisfy their customers who swarm through the bright May streets to produce the busiest community that any man could desire to live in. In the streets, all is hurry and bustle. The very carts, instead of being drawn by horses at a walking pace, are often met at a gallop and always in a brisk trot. Omnibuses are racketing and terry-hooting through the New York streets with as much hubbub, hullabaloo, and general unmitigated uproar as the most optimistic man might expect in a city 7 times the size.
Get up there, team! Get up, team! Out of the way there, mister! One side, get up!
It is May the 11th, 1831. And on the deck of the fine steamboat President, just coming into New York Harbor, there stand 2 young men, both well-dressed, although both seem very tired. They have been without sleep for some time. They are surrounded by luggage, and they glance back and forth at the sights, as if they were strangers from another planet that had never seen the earth before. They are strangers, come from France to see this curious new land that is supposed to be a democracy. This one, age 26, is Alexis Charles-Henri Clérel de Tocqueville, son of a French count.
As for the harbor and the city itself, well, picture to yourself an attractively varied shoreline. The slopes covered by lawns and trees, in bloom right down to the water. And more than all that, an unbelievable multitude of country houses, big as boxes of candy. I am much struck by how convenient these little houses must be, and by the attractive air they give the countryside. Such is our impression of the city of New York.
Beside young Mr. de Tocqueville stands his great friend, also a French nobleman, but 3 years older. This young man, wearing a cloak, is 29. His name is Gustave Auguste de la Boninière de Beaumont.
At each instant you glimpse great bays which cut into the shores and form the most picturesque sides. We were full of real admiration. What struck us particularly was the animation given this majestic tableau by the immense number of vessels, brigs, gondolas, and boats of all kinds, which cross and recross in every direction.
Tocqueville and Beaumont plunge into the crowd as though into a bath and are lost in the tumult of activity and motion. The carriages rattle through the streets, the carts dance as if they were running races with them, and the ladies trip along in all the colors of the rainbow.
Lord, Mabel, skip into that door right smart, or I declare that carriage is going to splash our skirts.
And as for the passers-by, they look as though they actually had something to do.
Now I tell you what it is. Pardon me. I'm going to let you in on the ground floor of this development. I'm going to let you, excuse me, take an option in the purchase of some real first-rate, Western Pennsylvania speculations. Basically, it's a granite quarry, which can
Watch where you're going.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
So am I.
Now, basically, like I say, the investment is a granite quarry that's financing an India Rubber Company, joint stock, and all enterprise, all pure enterprise, if you want to make money...
Everybody is walking as if he were in a hurry.
Well, if you want to find your way around this country, you'll have to hurry. We firmly believe that if a man means business, he better look as if he meant business. We Americans are born in a hurry and educated at speed. We make a fortune with a wave of a wand and lose it just as fast, and then remake and relose the whole thing in a twinkling of an eye. Our body is a locomotive ripping along at 30 miles an hour. Our spirit is a high-pressure engine. Our life resembles a shooting star, and death surprises us like an electric shock.
The governor of the state of New York himself, Mr. Throop, looks through his boarding house window at everybody in motion and observes,
"They all seem as if they were running away from an indictment."
And Governor Throop draws out a toothpick and continues to enjoy the May morning and watches the hogs happily rooting around in the gutters, indulging in hearty repasts of offal of every description. And this, too, in the midst of coaches, horses, and pedestrians.
Cholera. That's what you're going to get. Cholera. That's what you're asking for right here in New York City. I wouldn't give you more than a dog's chance.
Well, experience, sir, has proven that the most efficacious and powerful method of keeping the streets of a town in a state of perfect and refined cleanliness is plenty of hogs. And if the hogs aren't doing the trick, then you haven't got enough of them.
Or in 1831, New York City, with its 200,000 people and 11 daily newspapers, is very unequal in style and quality from one district to another. The great avenue of Broadway is striking from its continuous and unbroken length of 3 miles in a straight line. But its breadth, about 80 feet, is not sufficiently ample for the due proportion to its length. It is, moreover, wretchedly paved. And as for 3rd Avenue and 8th Avenue, these are no more than long, muddy lanes leading respectively to the remote villages of Harlem and Manhattanville. But New York is now and always has been a port, a city of ships. The side-wheel steamers with their long, flaring funnels like post-boys' trumpets lie side by side with the forested sailing ships whose long bowsprits hang over the passers-by like sabers at a wedding.
We must quickly find a boarding house and get some sleep.
Do these people never stay still? Look how they chase along the streets. Everyone seems to be afraid to let the next man get ahead of him.
And indeed, an American is always on the lookout lest any of his neighbors get the better of him. If 100 Americans were going to be shot, they would contend for the priority. So strong is our habit of competition.
Look, Beaumont, over there. It must be some kind of parade.
In the early 1830s, New York was a city of parades. Here's Major Downing. He calls himself a major from the state of Maine. He says he's from Maine, rode in one of those parades with the 7th president himself, Andrew Jackson himself, Old Hickory in person and none other. At least he says he did.
I'd like to meet the man that'd disbelieve me to my face with my glass in my hand.
You tell him, Major.
If you'd been out that day, you'd have seen me and the general figuring considerable odds, I guess. There never was anything like it in New York afore.
I'll swear to that, Major.
There's many an accomplished liar sitting outside the tavern drinking his whiskey and telling his stories, though certainly the great men are a great deal more accessible now in 1831 than they ever became later.
One thing strikes me at once.
What is that?
Look at the people. Look at their general ease. Most of them seem well fed. Most of them seem well dressed. This is a country where men live well by the work of their hands.
Irish labourers, straight off the boat, get as much as 75 cents a day. Together with lodging, 3 big meals a day, and 6 to 8 glasses of whiskey, depending on the state of the weather. Bread, meat, sugar, tea, fuel are cheaper than in the old country, and wages are triple.
The stores are full of things, some startling enough to horrify the casual visitor.
We observed the open sale of Dirk's Bowie knives and a long kind of stiletto called the Arkansas toothpick. These are sold by druggists in whose shops or stores these deadly weapons are hung up for public inspection and sold by them as part of the legitimate wares of their calling, thus plainly indicating that weapons to kill, as well as medicine to cure, could be had at the same shop.
A city of green trees and fresh paint. A lively, new, sparkling city for all its roughness and vigor. Towards each other, the citizens are forthright and breezy, as when the clam dealer calls on the governor of the state.
Hello there. Brought some fresh clams for the governor.
Hey, sitting in the parlor, picking his teeth. Go right in. Hello there, Mr. Garrett. Step right in.
Morning, Mr. Governor. Brought you some clams.
Well, that's just fine. Pull up a chair and bite yourself off a chew.
One man's as good as another, if not better, and people don't forget that elected officers are nothing but their servants. Towards women, however, the attitude is usually very different.
There are no women around here. The females are ladies, should be treated accordingly as the precious repositories and fair blossoms of virtue, beauty, and high morality. And anyone who suggests these dainty creatures should have their innocence sullied by too much education or the toil of commercial or political affairs deserves the active opprobrium of all decent men.
Equality and easy manners, then, and pride. Such pride. Boasting is a virtue, and a good boaster is a man to be admired.
When the ancient, respectable, and patriotic Tammany Society celebrates its 42nd anniversary tomorrow, May 12th, I shall propose the toast to democracy, the finest institution devised by the mind of man, especially suited for the greatest people on earth, the fortunate inhabitants of the greatest country on earth, under God's special protection, America.
Equality, boasting, and business. This is a city of merchants and men of affairs. Even in the streets full of hurrying people, business goes on as usual.
I'll go 30 cents a pound.
I can't cover the cost of shipping at that price. 32.
That takes up all my profit.
You do better than that now with your markup.
There's overhead charges. 30 and a half. If that's what I'll make it, 30 and a half.
And yet, amid the bustle, there are some who sit calm, like this old gentleman here with a white beard and whiskers and the clean-shaven top lip. He's reading the Mercantile Advertiser at the foot of Cortlandt Street and seems undisturbed by the bustle.
What bustle? This is the 11th of May. You've been here the 1st of May, you'd seen some bustle.
Well, why the 1st of May? What's so special about that?
Why, New York City, the 1st of May is moving time.
Well, how do you mean, moving time?
Time universal flitting. Time when everybody moves. People here are very locomotive in their habits. They are anxious to better themselves, see? It's the day of all others in the year when the good people of this town have one and all agreed to play at the game of move-all. 1st of May, they're all at it with all their might. 2nd of May, everything will be quiet. It'll all be settled again.
Did you move the 1st of May?
I most certainly did. I moved every May Day for the last 40 years. Everybody does the same. People can't bear not to be like their neighbors. Or it takes a live fish to swim upstream. Well, good day to you. Nice fresh day.
And it is a nice fresh day, perhaps a little too fresh. For down here by the water, there's quite a wind. Look at that poor lady, tacking along with the wind behind her skirts and flounces.
A lady has a time of it when the wind blows and the dust is flying in clouds, as it does in New York almost all day long. I encountered a puff at the corner of one of the streets, and there I stood holding my hat with one hand and my cardinal cloak, which has 56 yards of various commodities in it, with the other. I thought I should have gone up like a balloon and stood stark still until I came near being run over by a great hog which was scampering away from some mischievous boys. At last, a sailor took compassion on me and set me down at the door of a store. As he went away, I heard him say to his companion,
"Damn my eyes, Bill. What a press of canvas the girls carry nowadays."
But this lady is not the only one to complain of the wind, for as we near the waterfront, we see the air full of plug hats and people chasing after them.
Catch it! Catch it! Don't step on it, you confounded blockhead!
But particularly notice this. See the pieces of paper sailing about, together with a variety of vegetables, pieces of linen, and other materials, entirely interrupting the view. Where does all this come from? Is it garbage?
No, sir, it is not. All those commodities come from hats.
And no nation on earth uses a hat for so many purposes as a Yankee. It serves him at once for a head covering, a writing desk, a larder, and a portmanteau. In it, the merchant deposits patterns of various descriptions. The doctor uses it as an apothecary's shop. The married man, returning from market, converts it into a depository for potatoes and other vegetables. And to the traveler, it serves as a knapsack.
Look, 66 Broadway. Room for rent.
A boarding house.
1831. Now, let me see. I was in New York City at the time. My husband had gone to his long reward. He used to work as a speculator, trading in commodities, you know. You can make a lot of money that way. He didn't, but he sure tried hard. A fine man. I guess that's what killed him. So I opened a refined boarding house for ladies and gentlemen of standing and position. Number 66 Broadway, just down the street from the American Hotel. These two French gentlemen came in off the steamship President, and I never saw two fellas look more tired. They just rolled into their beds in the middle of the afternoon, and I guess they must have slept clean through until 8 o'clock next morning, when I told Kitty to ring for breakfast. All right, Kitty. All the cold meats are on, and the lobsters will be ready in a moment. Might as well let them have the gong soon as it's 8 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Kitty, let them have it. Morning, Mr. Griggs.
Morning, ma'am.
Do any studying last night?
I reckon I did. I've just about proved that the Babylon of the apocalypse refers to the Scarlet City of London, England.
Mr. Griggs from Kentucky. Very keen Bible student, though just a piece biased about proving England's downfall. Good morning, Marquis.
Good morning, madame.
I hope you passed a good night, Marquis.
The wrongs of my unhappy country.
Get the bagwig and the ruffles. That gentleman's a real French Marquis. That's the way they call it. I believe right now the Marquis is teaching dancing to young ladies of refinement and... Morning, Major General.
Morning, ma'am.
You look fit as a fiddle this fine morning, sir.
An old soldier usually comes out pretty fit, ma'am.
The Major General's from Vermont. A regular walking encyclopedia about the war, if you ask me. Morning, Mr. O'Brien.
Oh, morning, ma'am.
One moment, Mr. O'Brien. I wondered if we might have something on account on that little bill.
Well, I tell you, ma'am, I've got a job this morning at the Hudson River docks checking consignments. And whatever I get, you can have half of it. No, you can't say fairer than that.
I'd rather have the whole of it. But you can't say too much to the poor fella with his ribs all sticking out. He has to stand up twice to cast a shadow. A lot of Irish gentlemen are over here to live cheap, even though it cost them a year's wages to get here. Morning, Mr. Beasley.
Morning, ma'am.
Any luck yesterday?
I thought I saw one of them over near the courthouse, but it gave me the slip.
Well, I hope and trust you have better luck today. Mr. Beasley is from the Carolinas, indigo planter. He's up here on business and keeping his eye open for half a dozen of his slaves that ran away. He's heard tell they're in New York City at present. I hope he can make those slaves realize that every time they run away, they deprive a gentleman of his lawful property. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, madame.
Good morning.
Now, let me see. Which of you gentlemen is which?
I am Mr. de Tocqueville, and this is Mr. de Beaumont.
Mr. Tocqueville's the little one. Mr. Beaumont's the big one. Well, I hope I can remember that. And you gentlemen are from France?
That is perfectly correct.
Well, you can't start the day on an empty stomach. And you will if you don't step lively. Why, it must be 8:05 if it's a minute. The gong here goes at 8 o'clock, you know, and I wouldn't answer for there being many victuals on the board by 1:15.
Then we had better hurry.
Sit wherever you like. If there's any left, there's fish, ham, beef, boiled fowls, eggs, pigeons, pumpkin pies, lobsters, vegetables, tea, coffee, cider, sangaree, and cherry brandy.
Oh, we can sit here.
Yes. Beef?
Thank you. Potatoes?
Thank you. Cabbage?
No, thanks. Coffee?
No, not at this time in the morning. I'll have brandy.
Beaumont, look at the ladies.
It is also too early in the morning to look at ladies.
No, I'm serious. You notice they are completely dressed for the day. Everything complete and finished. And here it is only breakfast. At this rate, a lady would be ready to receive visitors at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Things will be very different here in America. See how fast you must eat. This food is melting away before our eyes. More beef?
Thank you. More potatoes?
Thank you.
Oh, some of them are leaving already. Certainly there seems to be very little formality in a democracy.
Then you and I shall gobble our breakfast as though we were Americans and hurry out to see the marvels of New York. Let me see. Where are we?
This is the Bowery.
And this is Bayard Street. Now, look at that hotel.
The North American Hotel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors. And an exchange table attached.
Never mind that. Look at the roof. What I want you to notice
But I do mind it. I want to notice everything and make a note.
Look on the roof beside where the American flag is flying. There is a wooden statue of a poor boy with ragged knees and elbows.
Oh.
Now, why should the management put such a thing on their roof? Surely there must be some instructive story connected with it.
Yes, sir, there surely is. And
pardon.
you'll find it's a tale of American industry, American opportunity, and American courage.
Are those things abundant here?
Sir, those virtues and many others besides are always found in America and never found in other countries. Now, sir, 38 years ago, a poor boy came to this town, a poor Yankee boy, named David Reynolds. He was 12 or 14 years of age at the time, without a crust of bread to feed him, without a copper in his pocket. Weary and hungry, he leaned against a fine elm tree, since cut down, made into lumber, and sold at a good price. That elm tree stood where the North American Hotel now stands. While young David Reynolds was leaning against it, luxuriating, you might say, in his beautiful shade, he racked his little brains to try and devise some means of procuring for the sustenance of his childish needs a livelihood that should be both honest and honorable. While he was thus reflecting how to get his dinner, a gentleman came up to him.
Name?
I beg your pardon, sir.
I wondered if you knew this gentleman's name.
This gentleman's name, sir, has not been handed down to posterity. May I proceed?
Pray do.
Thank you, sir. The gentleman, whose name has not been transmitted to us, approached this poor friendless boy and asked if he were willing to carry the gentleman's trunk down to the wharf. The boy eagerly consented and received for his labors the sum of 25 cents. Now, what do you suppose he did with it?
Spent it on food.
Perhaps he reserved some to pay for his night's lodging. Or was he prepared to sleep in the street?
He was prepared to do anything, sir, providing it was honest. I'll tell you what he did. He did an American thing. With a little of the money, he bought food. And with the rest of it, he bought fruit, which he offered for sale beneath that same elm tree. American initiative, sir, grasping the opportunity. He soon disposed of his little stock to advantage and spent that night richer than he had ever been before. On the morrow, he repeated the transaction. Soon, he had a fruit stall under the tree, then a small shop, then several houses on either side. Finally, he acquired such an estate that he pulled it all down and built this magnificent hotel. On this plaque, which he caused to be erected, he has set out his own story. And you will perceive it concludes with these words. The tree was cut down, but from its beloved trunk he caused his image to be carved. That's it up there. As a memento of his own forlorn beginnings and his grateful recollections. From a penniless, ragged boy, David Reynolds rose to be one of the most prosperous citizens in his community and the owner of the finest hotel in New York City. And possibly the world. That, sir, is an American story. And I myself am David Reynolds at your service.
Sir, I'm enchanted to make your acquaintance.
Delighted. But tell me this. Do not your fellow citizens hold against you in some way these humble origins of yours?
They do not, sir. Most emphatically not. I am a man of property and position, and in New York that speaks for itself. Oh, I trust, by the way, gentlemen, that you are yourselves not in need of lodgings, because if you are...
No, thank you, sir. We are already accommodated. And in any case, we must very shortly leave the city. We hear New York is not America, and we want to see all the country.
You should see it all. The finest country in the world. Ask any American, and he'll tell you, where could I be better off? Goodbye, gentlemen, and remember that little American story.
I think he is right. That is an American story. A poor boy rising to be a large property owner, enjoying the respect of his community.
But chiefly because of his money.
Perhaps it is the symbol of position, as blood is with us.
This is indeed a new world.
And one to which we had better become accustomed. I am going to find out about this place, Beaumont, because I think in this country we can perceive something of the future of our own.
Democracy?
Yes. America is only my setting. Democracy is my subject. It appears to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that sooner or later we shall arrive, like the Americans, at an almost complete equality of condition. But first, we must collect the facts. We must dissect American society and search out the elements of which it is composed. We must ask useful questions. The smallest conversations will be instructive. There is not a man, on whatever rung of society he finds himself, who cannot teach me something.
You have just heard Where Could I Be Better Off? A study in Jacksonian America. Item 1 in a series based on Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America. This series, presented by the National Broadcasting Company, was prepared by the Division of General Education of New York University under the direction of George Probst, American historian. Produced in the studios of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation by Andrew Allen, script by Lista Sinclair, music by Lucio Agostini. This series, Democracy in America, is made possible by a grant from the Fund for Adult Education as part of a general course of study of the nature of American society. For information about the use of these de Tocqueville dramatizations for study or discussion and how to secure these new materials about American democracy at a reasonable charge, write to the American Foundation for Continuing Education, Post Office Box 749, Chicago 90, Illinois. Now, this is Ben Grauer inviting you to join us next week for Item 2, The Governor in the Boarding House, on Democracy in America.
Wherever you travel in the USA, stay well informed. Tune to Radio NBC.
This is ChestertonRadio.com.
Section 44 of G.K. Chesterton's newspaper columns, The New Witness, 1921. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Larry Wilson. G.K. Chesterton's newspaper columns, The New Witness, 1921, by G.K. Chesterton. At the sign of the world's end, the escape from equality. The only moral attraction of socialism is the ideal of equality, or at least the correction of inequality. There may be men who like centralization because it will involve officialism, and who like officialism because they hope to be the officials. But even when they are the officials of a socialist state, they will not be socialists. Their motive is one that could be as well answered in a servile state, and therefore most of them are now almost openly in favor of a servile state. But the motive which makes most honest men socialists is the motive of making a society in which there shall be no masters or slaves. And the moral ideal behind that motive can only be the ideal of equality, or the brotherhood of human beings upon the basis of human dignity. It may seem contradictory, but it is also correct to say that while the Marxians must adopt this ideal, it is difficult to see why they do. Materialism and fatalism are the foundations of their creed, and these views are more easily advanced in support of incurable inequality. It may be arguable that the movements of historic humanity can best be explained as those of animals in search of food. It may be that the Crusaders marching to a howling wilderness bore a striking resemblance to a flock of sheep trotting towards a better grazing ground. It may be that a polar expedition going north is seeking a more agreeable climate, like a flock of birds going south. But nothing is more certain than that all sheep do not find equally good grazing grounds. Nothing is more certain that some birds are left behind, some birds fall and perish, and that some birds are killed by other birds. Of course, there is a distinction here. The moral ideal of equality may, for some reason, exist in spite of materialism, but it seems clear that their equality cannot actually come from their materialism. And I confess I am considerably puzzled about where it does come from. An Irish priest, who is a friend of mine, made the only comment on Marxian egalitarianism which seems to me to cover this point about equality. They have taken the most mystical thing in religion without the religion. But when we turn from the abstract to the concrete conception of equality, we find another difficulty. Numbers of people denounce collectivist equality as impossible. But nobody seems to notice that equality is not so much impossible for anybody as particularly impossible for collectivists. The socialist state gives all power to the government, and therefore cuts much deeper than any other government. In practice, the chasm between the governor and the governed. In every society there is the public official and the private citizen. But the number of things that the public official can do to the private citizen is increased and not diminished by the collectivist change. In short, there cannot admittedly be political equality, even if there is economic equality. Even if we have abolished aristocracy and plutocracy, there can still be bureaucracy, and perhaps a particularly bullying bureaucracy. But in truth, this is only the beginning of the practical problem and the singular paradox. I have said that even if it gives us economic equality, it must very markedly refuse us political equality. But in fact, it will not give us economic equality. There is a hitch or trick in the practical process which could have been calculated beforehand, but which in any case always appears afterwards. A sort of catch in the clockwork even of this clockwork community. Its effect is that even in the purely economic field, equality can be evaded.